sorry, I'm not seeing the number you're looking at, because I see taped live programs, hours weekly, programs produced at the facility. Is that the number you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, so I see 3 in 2024, 14 in 2023,
Right.
0 in 2022, 0 in 21, and then 7 in 2020, ostensibly before COVID.
Yes. So that's 24 programs total during that period of time relative to that amount of money, 2.3 million.
Again, with the clarification that that's programs and not episodes, but sure, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Do you mind if I also make one other clarification? Which is just that you said that we collect that money. I would just point out again that we collect the absolute minimum that we are required to collect. So I think it's the company's position that if we could collect less, we would, but we are statutorily required to collect that much money.
No, I appreciate that clarification. And my questioning was just per subscriber funds, not the fact that you had to or not had to.
You've listed in NTV 32 that approximately $400,000 per year from 2020 to 2024 is expended, correct?
That is what we have reported.
And those expenses have been fairly consistent through multiple years?
Roughly, I mean, they have increased. I think that's probably largely due to compensation for employees.
Okay. And these are PEG-related expenses, correct?
Yes.
And during these 5 years, Optimum has produced a total of 24 studio shows with 0 users in Area 1, correct?
I again want to be clear, Optimum is not a producer of shows.
Sorry,
There are
it's-
that many people in the community that have utilized our physical studio space to produce shows that occur on a weekly or cyclical basis.
I should say facilitated the production of.
Thank you.
Would you open up slide 5? Nutmeg TV has established relationships with corporate entities such as ESPN, who's offered their help in providing award-winning lighting and set design to Nutmeg TV. Has Optimum built any relationships to provide studio offerings in Area 1 or Area 20?
Not that I'm aware of.
Objection to Nutmeg's question largely being a recitation of what Nutmeg provides and not a question to the company.
No, I'm going to overrule that objection. You may proceed with your questioning. And again, I remind the witnesses, you may respond as best you are able.
Have there been any studio upgrades in the last 5 years to the Norwalk facility?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
And for Area 20?
No, not that we're aware of.
Optimum reports rent and facility allocation expenses for the PEG studio, but it doesn't appear to be open to the general public except for appointments. Is that correct?
We do report rental or space allocations for the rent. The studio is available to be booked by appointment. We are required to maintain the studio at all times pursuant to Connecticut obligations.
And is that 7 days a week, 5 days a week? Hours of operations in general of when those appointments would be? Able to be booked, I should say.
I can't speak for Norwalk specifically. I mean, traditionally we follow other business hours, but I do know that our employees have at times been willing to accommodate outside of business hours appointments, at least in Litchfield. I assume the same is true for Norwalk.
Thank you.
Yeah, so when we report expenditures, it looks as though we multiply by the daily percentage of 260 days, which is 5 days times 52.
So we don't charge rent to the PEG operations for the weekends.
Thank you. As Optimum reports staffing expenses for PEG operations, despite having a facility that is booked by appointments, what justifies the staffing expense for PEG operations in Area 1?
A couple things. The first is, of course, that we have staff who are available to do that, and therefore we cannot utilize their time elsewhere within the company. But second, even when people are uploading through Telview or, an online system or whatever, there still is an administrative review component that is required for that. So if somebody uploads a program, a school play or a musical or something like that, it has to be reviewed to make sure that there aren't copyright infringements, to make sure that it's of sufficiently good quality to be shown on the program. And so that administrative review takes place even when the physical studio is not being used.
And is that review of the entire program, like someone sits there and watches that production to clarify that it's within the guidelines of the rules?
I don't know if they watch everyone entirely through. If it were 24/7, that doesn't seem feasible, but I imagine that they do a sufficiently thorough review to ensure that they're competent with its compliance.
So does Optimum screen the content then ultimately?
Yes.
Did Optimum provide any explanation to Pura as to why these PEG expenditures continue in this manner?
Could you clarify what you mean by in this manner?
Such as the PEG employee that is there and the time that is allocated for that employee to PEG. It seems to be dominantly on the scheduling of the channel and reviewing this type of content compared to assisting producers with studio productions. I just want to make sure that is Pura aware in any form of docket or annual report that that is how PEG employees are time is utilized.
We provide all of the information that we're required to provide when we file our annual reports. Again, when we file them, we assume that if Pura has any questions, that they will come to us and follow up and ask them.
Is there anywhere on the record that Optimum has identified a single PEG service training session, equipment loan, or public access studio activity besides the programs that are sent in through Telview over the last 5 years?
Is this specific to Area 1?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Area 1.
Our annual reports accurately reflect the usage, and we're not aware of any other programming that was not reflected in our Area 1 report for the last 5 years.
Okay. And I would ask the same for Area 20 then.
I'm going to hedge a little bit on that one only because I understand that there have been increases. I'm not sure whether those increases were accurately reflected or whether we may be underreported in those areas. But
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
it should be accurate.
Okay, great. Just one moment. In the Area 20 utilization, it was mentioned earlier today that certain education programming is provided there. Can you please direct me to where that is in the record in the annual reports of the education programming?
And the question was specifically related to,
To Area 20, it was mentioned that there was education programming that was being submitted to Area 20. I just want to make sure that the annual reports indicate that.
I'm looking at page 3 of our 2025 annual report, and please correct me if I'm pointing you to the wrong place. It shows that an average number of hours of tape versus live programming per week, 168 to 0. So meaning that that the content that we get is on tape. It is not live, but it is tape that is submitted by those
So,
educational entities.
so the education channel is, in terms of what you just said, is 100% programming of educated content? 24/7?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. Harrell on this one.
Yeah, there is local educational, there is local educational content on the education channel. That channel is a little odd, though, in the fact that this goes back to, I don't know exactly when, but maybe the 70s or 80s. But I think because it's PBS, the PBS out of New York City was placed on the education channel. So the education channel is shared with PBS. Now we have a fully dedicated channel to PBS, CPTV on channel 9. But the education channel is shared with PBS. So there are local things. There are local graduations. Thomaston High School, for example, did videos that are on there. But when that is not on there, it's WNET out of New York. It's PBS. Again, I don't know where this started. This is conjecture, but I assume because it's PBS, somebody thought it would find a home on the education channel. And this dates way, way back to long before Cablevision acquired the channel.
Thank you. I have a question for you. In the PEG peer reports, it lists 0 for E&G for programming. So Optimum does not appear to be providing the numbers to Pura in its for E&G channels. It's a 0.
Could you point me to where that is? Because again, I said tape versus live programming every week is 168,
Pura,
0.
what page is that? Chris?
This is page 3 of the Litchfield 2025 annual report.
So page 3, educational access channels, channel 22. Average hours tape live programming per week, 168 to 0. Average hours of character generated per week, 0. Total number of programs produced annually at this facility, 0. Total number of programs broadcast but produced elsewhere, 4. Approximate percentage of repeat programs is 67%. So I don't think that's 0.
Okay, then of those 4, those are the high school productions that was just mentioned?
Yeah, yes.
So 4, and is that, I want to clarify, are those 4 annually?
Go ahead and come up and answer. I'm sorry.
My apologies. That varies. Some are annual events like graduations. Others are videos that are periodically updated that students do when they're available. So it varies. Graduations would be once a year, although they show many, many times, so people will find them. We schedule them for, there's no hard and fast rule, but we schedule graduations, for example, for 3 or 4 months. So somebody who just didn't think it was airing or didn't think to look will find it and see it.
Okay, and there's no delineation then in this report to Pura of PENG programming of any PBS content on the education channel?
You are correct that it does not designate between that. It talks about what we air on the thing, but not necessarily what is.
Is any PEG expenses used in the scheduling of PBS content on the channel?
No. But Mr. Harrell can explain.
I'm in charge of programming it. Like I have to, you know, as well as I do, the TelView only lets you schedule things so long. So I have to make sure and refresh it every year to make sure PBS will not air unless I tell it to air. So I'm in charge, I'm ostensibly in charge of that channel, but.
May I ask you a technical question then in terms of the scheduling of TelView then? Is PBS aired as continuity on the channel?
You mean as,
In TelView's terms, it's called continuity, which
yeah,
is content that is aired in between programmings. Typically, a bulletin board is scheduled. Is this where PBS would come in?
You can answer.
Yeah, that's it. When educational programming, local educational programming is not on, it would be PBS. And again, this predates Optimum, this predates Cablevision. I do not know how this started or when exactly. But again, PBS was just put onto the education channel. That is not common to this cable system. But yeah, when there is no local education programming on, it'll be whatever's on PBS, the Wildcrats or Frontline or.
Right.
And
And-
then, just to clarify, and I want to make sure I understand. If there is a local program, it takes precedence over PBS.
Yes, yes, even if it preempts, which I have gotten calls about, even if it preempts the news hour, the local programming takes precedence, yes, for however long it airs.
Great, thanks for clarifying. And does Optimum have any agreements that they can supply as a late filed exhibit as to you airing their content?
I sincerely doubt it. Given the length of the history here, I can't fathom that we have a document that would explain that. It sounds like it's more institutional.
Thank you very much.
Let's turn now to the advisory council, who wrote many letters well, Area 9 Cable Advisory Council didn't write the letters, but but there were many letters written from that area that we want to talk about. But the $101,000 that is in Optimum's annual reports referred to as Area 9 funding, it's already explained earlier to Ms. Ash's questions. Is there a statute that Optimum can point to that allows it to distribute public subscriber funds to any other entity?
Objection to the extent that's asking the knowledge of fact witnesses regarding the existence or non-existence of law.
Could you rephrase your question, Ms. Wedler?
Thank you. How long has Optimum been directing funds like this to the Area 9 Cable Council?
At least 20 plus and significantly before that. Again, this goes back to the franchises that were issued into different cable regions.
Subject to check.
Yeah, yeah, but we know that it started in the 2007 Docket decision.
Well,
So
at least prior to.
Area 9 Cable Council reported, and if they're correct, they've been receiving these PEG subscriber funds since 2002. So if it were approximately $100,000 since 2002, that would add up to $2,300,000 of PEG subscriber dollars donated by Optimum to this council. Would that be correct?
they were given to the Cable Council, who then issues a series of grants to local schools and government bodies to make sure that they have the equipment and things that they need to adequately utilize education and government. So I don't think of it as much as a donation as a facilitation of providing PEG services or education and government to other entities.
Now, would you agree with the statement that Stanford and Norwalk are the two largest cities by population in Area 1?
Yeah, that's accurate.
So would it also be accurate to assume that there would be more cable subscribers in these two large cities than, say, Wilton or Darien?
That I don't know. I have no idea of that.
So PEG subscriber fees that are collected from customers in Stanford or Norwalk represent a larger pool of subscriber funds that could be awarded in these donations to other municipalities like Darien, Greenwich, and New Canaan for educational and government programming content. Would you agree with that statement? I'll repeat. So PEG subscribers collected from the two largest cities in Area 1 pulled together as a portion of that $100,000 could be awarded as grants to some of the smaller communities like Wilton or Darien in that area.
I don't feel comfortable answering just because I don't know that that's the largest pool. I don't know that Area 9 is not already doing that money to them. That's all.
Area 9, October 2025 minutes show that the town of Wilton was awarded $15,000 from those grants to replace a failing Windows 7 server. And so we're assuming that some of those monies may have been paid for by Stamford and Norwalk subscribers. Could that be a possibility?
The area, all of the monies that we handle in Area 1 come from all of the subscribers in Area 1. So we don't distinguish by town within that because we're required to provide PEG as a region.
I just want to jump in. So do you dictate to the recipient of the grant how they just spend how they spend the funds? Or do you simply award it to them and it is up to their discretion how those grant funds are distributed?
The latter,
Correct. So you have no control over how the grant funds are distributed?
the date, no.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the Area 9 Cable Council a nonprofit 501c3 with any Connecticut oversight of distribution or accountability of public funds?
That,
That witnesses can respond to the best of their ability. If they don't know, they don't know.
Yeah,
If they
I'm
do.
unaware of how they're formed, put together.
Thank you.
But as we did mention, they do file that annual report in the rate setting docket. So they are subject to some oversight by Pura and its docket.
Yes, I did see that. Thank you for that clarification. You had mentioned that the donation that's given by Optimum can be used for educational and government programming. And so are you familiar with the Connecticut Public Education and Government Programming and Educational Technology Investment Account, which is a mouthful that we call PEGpedia or PEGpedia? Are you familiar with that?
I've heard the acronym.
Are you aware that this state-run grant program administrated by Pura funds technology to improve public education and government programming for school districts and municipalities?
Generally, yes.
Are you aware that municipalities in Area 1 have applied for these grants?
I'm not aware of that.
So under statute, the PEGpedia funds can go to boards of ed, municipalities, libraries, schools. And as you know, in Connecticut, municipalities don't receive PEG subscriber funds, but municipalities can receive PEGpedia grants. Are you aware that they can apply for and receive those grants?
Generally, yes.
Okay, thank you. Has Optimum explained to Area 1 residents who wrote in opposition citing that they were potentially losing this $100,000 annual donation of PEG subscriber fees, and they had these needs to be able to continue to buy educational and government.
Have we, I didn't hear the beginning. Have we done what?
Have you explained to the Area 1 residents who wrote in opposition that, gee, there's another fund that's available for you to apply for these grants?
Yeah, I have not personally, no.
Are you aware that the Pura awarded PEGpedia grant fund gave the city of Norwalk $22,000 for a portable recording system to record meetings and events?
Was not aware of that.
The city of Norwalk applied again and received $77,000 for professional audio and video production systems upgrade. Were you aware of that one?
No.
The city
can
of,
you point to where those are? You're reading from something. What are you reading from?
These are the PIRA awarded PEGpedia grants that are.
Oh,
on-
these are
These
PEG
are,
okay.
yes. The city of Norwalk applied and received another 101,000 subsidized capital and equipment costs for public education and government programming. Were
Is-
you?
Is what you're reading from front in the record?
No.
Is there a reason that it has not been submitted before this very moment for them to review?
Let me think if it is in the record.
Attorney Bester, if we could, if you have an objection to the line of questioning, if you could make a formal objection,
Yeah, I took
otherwise.
to the line of questioning to the extent that it's, we're at a cross-examination in a factual hearing, and I think that if this information is so germane, it should have already been in the record by this point.
All right, well, are you
parties.
requesting a late filed exhibit of this particular information?
I just think it's inappropriate line of questioning to ask them to
I
react to
think
something
that
that's
he's
not-
asking of their awareness of this, and it's perfectly within their power to say, no, they're not aware of this.
Okay.
I would also say to Nutmeg, it's apparent that the witnesses are not terribly familiar with the intimacies of PEGpedia the way you are, so I think might be more productive to move on to a different line of questioning.
Thank you. My only point in that question was, as Optimum is delivering $100,000 to these municipalities, that many of these municipalities have applied for and received hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant money for PEG programming, but I will move on.
Yeah, I don't know that this additional.
I think we will move on from there.
Thank you.
There have been many letters of opposition from Area One that are misinformation and misguided. NTV, Nutmeg met with Optimum's Chris Berman and Ms. Greenleaf in October. Nutmeg TV reinforced several times that the town-specific channels would stay as they are for ENG programming. Do you recall that?
I remember the meeting. I'll be honest, I don't remember. It was almost a year ago, I believe.
Now, Mrs. Bresnan is not here, but when reading the minutes from the Area 9 Cable Council, he attended their October 2025. It was noted in the meeting that Mr. Bresnan reported Nutmeg TV affirmed that its regional model was superior to the town-specific model. Do you know, Mrs. Greenleaf, why the minutes would be characterized that way?
I have no idea.
Are these meeting minutes in the record? Submitted as their own or in a response, or by Nutmeg as part of its testimony?
In part of its testimony.
Can we have these meeting minutes that you're referring to submitted as a late file?
They're already in the record. I'll find it.
It is also recorded, while she's finding that, it is also recorded in the minutes that Nutmeg TV stated it was not our intention to increase the fees, but that we did not offer valid explanation on why the fees would not increase. Are you aware that PERA and PEG set the fees for Nutmeg TV?
Yes, we're aware of that. We engage in the same docket every year.
If so, why did Optimum give Area 1 residents the impression that this petition threatened their town-specific PEG programming or ENG programming, or would result in higher fees when Optimum knew that neither claim was accurate?
I don't think we did that. I will say this Area 9 Cable Council meeting, I believe, was well before the filing of Nutmeg's operational plan or its vision statement or any of those documents. But in terms of the impact on their fees, I do think that Optimum has concerns that it would lead to an increase in fees. And so I don't think that we could tell them that we didn't think it would increase their fees.
So,
Why would you think that?
yeah, so as a company, we have three areas. We have one third-party provider managing caps within our area, it's Soundview. kind of the Bridgeport area. I think that happened like 2008 or so. So that's our one tangible example. In my short time in this role, I've read up, looked at the record. So Soundview has repeatedly tried to increase fees. They've advocated for raising the per sub cap. They've advocated for a minimum funding floor decoupled from subscriber count. They've advocated to extend fees to streaming services, all in the name of cord cutting. So like, looking at that one example, I'm not inherently tying the two, but as we're looking at this, that's our one example within our footprint.
As Soundview is not a part of this record, we won't make a comment on that, but Nutmeg TV has said that the fees would not be increased. Does that
Correct.
satisfy your?
You don't, Ms. Wedler, you don't need to testify as to nutmegs. You just, we will question the witnesses. Thank you.
If PERA decides to allow Nutmeg TV to manage PEG in Area 1 as a cap, will Optimum continue to provide the same town-specific distribution that it currently does in Area 1?
What do you mean by town specific? My understanding is that the Nutmeg model is that everybody will get the same public channel content. So no, I don't think we would do it under that circumstance.
All right, well, that is not correct. That's not what our petitions say. So because I'm not an attorney, I don't want to speak out of turn and not be answering, because this isn't our testimony, so I'm not sure how to
I
answer
think
this.
if you can confine your questions to the witnesses and they will give their answers. And then if you have follow-up questions, by all means, ask them. But I think that's the most appropriate way to proceed.
And I apologize, Commissioner. I certainly don't want to misrepresent your testimony. I will just say, from our perspective, once the commission, should the commission make that determination, Optimum would lose all control over how you guys decided to put programming on or consolidate channels or whatnot. And so we would satisfy our statutory obligation of airing whatever was required, but we would not be able to make anybody any assurances about what that content would be.
So if Nutmeg were to assume control of managing operations in Area 1, and there are currently lines and existing video servers and channels for the E and G that are town-specific, with channel 88 being public, would Optimum continue to work with the Area 9 groups to maintain those individual channels that are already on the cable networks?
So my understanding is that a transfer of PEG means that we would stop doing PE or G because it would be a transfer of the community access provider to another one. And I think a lot of that would come down candidly to funding, right? If they were going to split the funding to continue to support E and G programming being handled by Optimum, I think that'd be one thing. But if the commission makes the decision that they want to transfer all of our funding and all of the authority to Nutmeg, then Optimum wouldn't consider itself to be out of the PEG game, and we would air whatever content was provided to us by Nutmeg, but it would no longer be Optimum's responsibility to decide what that content is or to facilitate it getting on the air.
Correct. So what we're talking about is transmission only, not content. So currently Optimum in Area 1 has town-specific programming except for Area 20. So Area 20, from what I understand, is not town-specific. The same programming goes into all 6 municipalities. Area 1, the E and G channels are town-specific. So Wilton does not see what Darien sees and Stamford doesn't see what Norwalk sees. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. But again, that decision would no longer be ours. So the decision would be Nutmeg's, whether Nutmeg chose to consolidate the channels or not into a single channel. But that decision about whether to keep those town-specific channels would ultimately rest with whoever the cap was. And that would no longer be Optimum. So if Nutmeg honored that, we would absolutely transmit what they did. But we would not be responsible for making that decision because we would no longer have the authority to do so.
So again, not speaking about content, the question was if PERA were to decide that Nutmeg would be the cap for Area 1, would Optimum continue to provide town-specific distribution to the towns as they are now. So in other words, Optimum doesn't put programming on E&G now. The town of Darien decides, this is what we want to put on. They schedule it, they put it on. Doesn't involve Optimum at all. And then Wilton does the same thing. So what we're asking is, would the town-specific programming distribution, the lines and how that's distributed, be the same as it is now?
And I promise I'm not trying to quibble. If Nutmeg chose to continue that model and to not consolidate those, if we continued to get those feeds, we would, but we would not be the ones making that decision. So if Nutmeg wanted to continue the local town-specific model, we would transmit it.
All right,
I
we'll
think
move
that's
on.
as much as you're going to get it
Yeah,
as
we'll
a
move on.
response. Thank you.
I'm glad Mr. Harrell was able to stay because I know that he is up in Area 20. And now I'd like to shift over to Area 20. So if you look at the slide, if you wouldn't mind, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slide number 6. We've already established that you've read our pre-filed testimony, Mr. Harrell. Maybe you have not, but is that the building of the PEG facility in Area 20?
Can we establish where this photograph came from? Can you describe what we're looking at on this page?
On the left-hand side of the page is a photograph of the PEG studio. That's what I'm asking. Is that the PEG studio in Area 20? And the inset photo is a larger zoomed in of that door that's way down on the right-hand side with a little mailbox in front of it that says Access Media Drop. Would that be accurate that that is the PEG facility?
Those are photos of the Area 20 facility, which I would like to, I sincerely apologize, which serves 8 towns. It was previously stated as 6.
I'm sorry.
It
8.
serves 8.
Yes, thank you. You're aware then, Ms. Greenleaf and Mr. Smith, from reading our pre-filed testimony that I personally visited Optimum facility for Area 20 at that location. Is that correct?
Yes.
The only area accessible to the public was a customer service center, a store, I would say, where people would bring in their picking up cable boxes, et cetera. And that was open to the public. I went in that door, but the PEG facility itself, the door was locked. Is that correct?
I apologize. I removed myself from the table. That's my fault. If you could repeat just some of that you're
Sure.
asserting.
The only accessible area to the public at that location appeared to be an adjacent building where there was a store or a customer service center where people were returning or picking up cable boxes. Does that sound right?
That's the place you can walk in. I'm not sure when you visited. If I'm working, the door is unlocked.
All
So
right.
I don't know if I had to pick up my children or something, which would be, or a dinner break. But yeah, the cable store is accessible. I'm not sure if you can tell from the photo, but the building itself is accessible. I mean, it's cut off, which was not on purpose, but there's a parking lot there. You can park, there's no gate, there's no security guard. So it's all accessible, but if I'm not there, if I'm home or something, then the door is locked, yes.
And despite calling multiple times at different times of the day, at the number that's listed on the annual report, I was unable to receive anyone to answer the phone. Is that phone, and maybe you were in a production or something, but does that phone have an answering machine where folks can leave a message?
Yes. Do you recall which number you called?
I do not. Oh, I do not, but we're going to find that out.
Absolutely.
I'll
Yeah,
let you
because
know.
nothing goes unanswered. Again, if I'm around the corner and there's a show and I can't answer it, I won't. But all voicemails get returned,
Okay. that's,
emails.
The location. The only phone number that we have here appears to be Mr. Smith, 860-361-9985.
Yes, that's the main number. And my extension is 9983. That's not.
That's not the outside.
Okay, yeah, 9985 or 9983. Either has voicemail, and I answer both. And all voicemails are returned. Absolutely. Again, I don't know when you called or if you left a message, but everything gets returned.
You seem to be a very dedicated person to PEG access, and we certainly appreciate that. Chris, you want to go on to Frontier? Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. I just have a few more questions left. Optimum confirms in NTV 22 that it receives per subscriber PEG funding from Frontier, correct?
We do.
And based on Optimum's own responses, Nutmeg TV calculates that Optimum collected on average of $5,426 per year from Frontier subscribers from 2020 to 2024, totaling approximately $27,131 over the 5 years, correct?
I'll have to trust your math.
Optimum states in NTV 21 that it has no interconnection agreement with Frontier. Is that correct?
Yes,
And in NTV 23, Optimum states it's not aware of providing any PEG channel feeds to Frontier. Is that correct?
that's our understanding, yes.
So,
If I'm,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I may, we collect the fees, they submit the fees to us and require, but in my experience, when a new provider comes into an area, this happened to us with Comcast a few years ago, they reached out to us to set up the interconnection. So we entered into an agreement with them to do that. We've never heard from Frontier. And we would certainly be willing to give them an interconnection if they requested it. But we view that as an obligation of Frontier to do and not an obligation of ours to do it. So again, if they reach out to us, we would be more than happy to provide that interconnection. But my understanding is that they don't do that in any of our territory.
So if Optimum is collecting per subscriber, or receiving per subscriber fees from Frontier, has no interconnection agreement with Frontier, those customers are paying for a PEG service fee and they're not receiving any content, did Optimum ever contact Pura and say, gee, we're collecting fees and we cannot connect with Frontier, or Frontier doesn't want to answer our calls? Or did Optimum ever reach out to Frontier and say, we're collecting public money and not providing a service?
I don't know whether there were any efforts to reach out to Frontier that were made previously. I guess I would have assumed that if Frontier wasn't doing its statutorily required thing, that Pura would reach out to them and tell them that they needed to do that because they're the body tasked with enforcing. So again, my only experience is where a cable provider comes to us and says, we want to do what we are required to do by law, enter into an agreement for us to do that. And so that's been my empirical experience.
Thank you. Does that raise any legal or regulatory concerns in your opinion to?
Objection.
I will sustain that. You're asking for a legal opinion from non-lawyers.
May we have a late filed exhibit, please, of the last 10 years? How much Frontier funding has Optimum collected in Area 1 and 20 from Frontier customers having not provided the service?
What's
I
the
would-
basis for this?
We'd like to know.
I guess my only point of concern is it sounds more like you're trying to tell us that we're doing something wrong as opposed to a comparison between our two companies or our two groups as to whether who's the better provider. But on the point of the Frontier funding, I guess I would say that there are lots of people who pay PIG fees in this community that don't watch it, that don't do it. Frontier is legally required to provide those funds. They are legally required to remit them to us, and we are legally required to provide access to a studio. And we do all of those things.
And I would point out that this is not a an audit and that this parties had the opportunity to ask reasonable questions in advance, you know, weeks and months ago. And so I don't understand what's coming up now.
I think they've made a request and we will honor that request. So again, to the best of your ability. So could you give me that prompt, the amount of fees provided by Frontier over which period of time, Ms. Wedler?
10-year period.
Could we shorten that to 5 years? Everything else in this docket has been 5 years.
Would you be content with that, Ms. Wedler?
We would.
I believe the numbers are already in the docket because you referenced them, but we're happy to provide it.
If they exist in the docket, then we won't need a late filed exhibit.
They're not in one single,
We will put something
All right.
together.
All right, so fees paid or funds paid by Frontier to Optima over the past 5 years for the two areas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
slate file 19.
correct.
Funds provided by Frontier to Optimum.
Mr. Harrell is still available and willing. We just have a couple of questions. If you turn to the slide, I don't know which number it is, but it shows one of the slide 7.
What's the title? What are we looking for?
It shows a man sitting at a desk, Optimum Area 20. Is
Where was this photograph procured from?
Area 20 studio? Does that look like the studio, Mr. Harrell?
That is from one of our shows. And you're familiar with the host?
Yes, he's been at Numbered.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Is the channel still being distributed in 4x3? And what I mean by that is square, not rectangle, like most monitors are now?
That is correct.
Are they just,
Where?
I mean, it's rectangular, but it won't fill a widescreen, which you're talking about with HD or 4K or
Sir.
something like that.
is it distributed in standard definition or high definition?
It is distributed in its standard definition, but the equipment, if somebody submits a high def program to us via flash drive or something, I mean, it looks fine. There's no spectrum. I've seen it. It looks fine. It does not. It obviously isn't HD, but you can't tell that it's a different format. It still translates.
Why is Optimum continuing to air PEG access in Area 20 and Area 1 in substandard formats and resolutions? Can't even buy standard.
Objection to the characterization as substandard.
Yeah, I think this is outside the scope of their testimony today. I'm sure they're not making the decisions as to what is being purchased for the CAPS areas, so.
Well, thank you. We are asking questions on viewer engagement. We talked about studio engagement, but there are folks who watch, and the things that they're watching will keep a viewer, right? If the quality is better. So that's why we're asking if why we're still airing in standard definition.
I think if you want to rephrase that in a more appropriate way, then the witnesses can take their best shot at answering the question.
Why are you airing PEG access in those areas in standard definition?
I don't actually know the answer to that. I believe it's because, I'm not even gonna speculate. I don't know why we're doing it, except that we believe that by doing so, we're providing adequate and meaningful community access services. And that's what is sufficient to provide those services under the law.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to
Here.
address by the photo in the slide, are you inferring that is that the inference that this is what it looks like broadcast? That this talk show, that's what it looked like to viewers?
That actually came off of that photo was taken off of the television.
Okay. Just because, again, I've seen it and it doesn't, I mean, again, a photo and then you put it on copier paper and then toner and stuff like that. But that's not what it looks like to viewers. I understand what you're saying, that you're not going to watch a show where all you can see is heads, but that is not accurate to what it looks like on screen,
Sure, so.
if that's the inference. And I apologize.
From a technical standpoint then, has there been a decision made to specifically keep the channel in a 720 by 480 resolution compared to upgrading it to a 1920 by 1080 resolution?
I would be in a better position to answer that question, and I believe that that decision was made internally to maintain it at that. I can't tell you what the logic of it was, but that has been a discussion on and off, and we have settled at providing the SD stream.
Having read Nutmeg's pre-filed testimony, you are aware of the pictures of studio sets that the public can freely use, correct?
Mr. Harrell hasn't read it,
This
but we are
photo-
familiar with it.
Yeah, this photo shows some examples. Have you ever asked Mr. Harrell Optimum for, let's get some new chairs, plants, and a table in here?
Yes, and we've gotten them in the past. It's been a few years because the chairs still function. But we have gotten things in the past. And we've also gotten donations from people who've brought their own chairs. That we had somebody build a round table because he's a craftsman, and he said, I'm going to leave it here and anybody can use it. And it's
That's good to
still in
know.
use. So yes.
And you're,
So I apologize. They can bring, you're aware of this because you're in TV. They can bring their own stuff too. You're allowed to bring whatever you want and set it up. I apologize. Keep going.
good, that's a good point, because folks do that. In your opinion, does that type of program quality provide meaningful public access to the commuters, to the viewers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware in the mornings that Optimum airs a video feed of WZBG commercial radio morning show on the public access channel?
Yes. That's a longstanding program.
And are you aware that that programming is live and contains commercial advertising, full commercial advertising?
Yeah, the entire simulcast is taken. So it does include, yes, it does include commercials that they run. It doesn't have anything to do with us.
Right. So commercial programming is prohibited on PEG channels, correct?
To the extent
We
that
would-
that is asking for a legal opinion, I object.
Yeah, and I would also just point out that the programming, the advertising, I've never seen it, but it sounds like it's being run as part of a live stream as opposed to Optimum selling the advertising, putting it on the air, promoting it in that fashion, just to the extent that there is a difference.
All commercial programming is prohibited on PEG channels, Commissioner Cheeseman. So I think,
I think you ask them if they're aware that commercial programming is prohibited, and they can give you a yes or no answer.
are you aware that commercial programming is prohibited on PEG channels?
I learned that more clearly yesterday during your testimony, yeah.
Yeah, Optimum continues to air commercial content on the public access channel. Is that correct?
Again, it is part of a live stream. I've never seen this program before. It's part of the live stream. Obviously, thank you for bringing it to our attention. We're going to look at it and we're going to make sure that we remain compliant.
Government access in Area 20 had a slide on it that says, stay tuned for Optimum programming. For more than a decade, I live in that area, and when I turn it on, I haven't seen any government programming, and your annual reports have 0 for the government programming, except I believe oh no, that's on education as PBS. Are you aware that there is no government programming on that channel?
Yes, we report that every year in our annual PEG reports.
So when I read in Area 20's Advisory Council opposition letter that the meetings from the town of Litchfield and the other municipalities up there would be impacted if Nutmeg TV took over. If there's no programming on that channel and it hasn't been, then that wouldn't be correct, would it?
I can't speak for what they were saying, but again, with Nutmeg taking over all of those operations, we certainly could not speculate as to what Nutmeg's decisions would be on those.
Turning to the Litchfield Cable Fund, Litchfield Cable Advisory Council also gets a donation from Optimum, is that correct?
Yes,
And what is that amount?
we have provided $10,000 annually to that advisory council.
Does Optimum have any control over how those PEG subscriber fees are used in Area 20?
No,
Thank you.
yeah, not to we're not aware.
All right. Minutes from the, oh, I'm gonna strike that because they're not entered into the record. Are you aware that the Litchfield Cable Advisory Council refers to those funds as stipends?
I was not aware of that.
Are you aware that those stipends appear to be handed out to, as scholarship payments to students, individuals?
Not aware of that, no.
Thank you.
Is there anything in the record supporting the statements that you're making, Ms. Wedler?
No.
I
Uh,
object to her putting in her own statements as testimony at this time.
If we could,
Mhm.
thank you.
Is there any mechanism or reporting of how that $10,000 is distributed?
We're not aware of any at this time.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Chris? We only have a very number of
Just a
questions.
couple left. Just to clarify, I just want to make sure we're understanding here that the public channel is on channel 5, the government channel is on 21, and the education channel is on 22, correct?
Yes, as reflected in our Bureau reports.
And has, again, just to be clear, Optimum is stating that Area 20, there is no town-specific channels? Is that correct? Everything is throughout the region?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the town-specific channel model.
So there's,
Yeah, all 8 towns contribute and they all on 5, as you mentioned, they all air on 5.
including government meetings and
No,
education?
that would be on government. Graduations and such would be on education, although they air on both to get maximum exposure. I put them on the PEG channel, the public access channel, and education.
Okay. In NTV 8, Optimum responded that for Area 20, all towns listed have, in that answer, have fiber passing E and G locations. But to Optimum's knowledge, they've been not producing any programming except for Torrington High School. Is that still accurate for your testimony?
If you have.
I don't know the complete answer because I don't work in the head end where this fiber would go to. But I know that, Thomaston High School, I think, has a feed. I believe Litchfield has a feed as well. I don't think Torrington City Hall has a feed directly into the head end. So they could broadcast and it would go directly on the channel without any other need for any other equipment, for example. That's Torrington High School. I don't know. They just built a new high school and middle school complex. So that one I don't know. And again, the only reason I don't know is because that goes directly to the head end. The engineers would handle that.
May I ask for a late filed exhibit then as to a more updated response to NTV 8, please?
I think that's a great idea. We will
Okay,
do that.
Thank you.
That would be late filed Exhibit 20, a more updated response to NTV 8.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, a more updated response to NTV 8 regarding the Area 20 interconnections on a town-specific basis.
Based on today's testimony, it seems like NTV 8 was answered incorrectly. The chairman of the Cable Advisory Council, Mr. Stephen Simonin, he's the chairman of Area 20, is that correct?
Yes.
And he claims in a June 3rd opposition letter filed in the docket that Litchfield operates a town-specific model. Based on your responses just now, is that not accurate then?
I'm not going to speak on behalf of Stephen Simonin.
Simon, I believe.
Simon, thank you.
Yeah.
He also appeared to form a letter with a blank in the town name that was not filled in. It states approval of Nutmeg TV's position would result in a loss of funding to Litchfield's Channel 5. But as we now know, these petitions are not reducing any funding, correct?
What's the question?
This petition is not reducing the funding in Area 20, correct?
I don't know how the funding is going to ultimately be allocated, but no, until Pura makes a decision. But I think he's talking about the focus and the existence of the studio near where he's living, but that's speculation.
Oh, okay, good.
Excuse me a minute, Mr. Simone's letter that was filed in the docket, it was a form letter. And the town name was left in the form letter and he didn't fill that out. So somebody did a form letter for him. And in that, he said there would be a loss of funding to Litchfield's Channel 5. But we know from today that Litchfield doesn't have a Channel 5. All the 8 towns share that channel. Is that correct?
It is correct that all 8 of the Area 20 towns receive Channel 5, including Litchfield.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, our last question, and thank you very much for your answers today. Should PURA issue a decision that transfers community access to Nutmeg TV for areas 1 and 20, will Optimum cooperate with Nutmeg TV to make that transition a smooth one and abide by any orders that PURA may determine appropriate in its decision?
Should Pura make that decision? And
Should
again,
they?
we
Right.
hope that they do not. We will abide by any order that Pura issues.
Then I have one more question. Why is it that Optimum would like to continue to be the cap for Area 1 and Area 20? When you've mentioned that it's a deficit, you're operating in a deficit, when you mention all the things that we've heard today, why is it that you want to retain, even when we started this and you read the quote that said that you were,
I think they can answer the question.
You finished your question, Ms. Wedler?
yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And the witnesses will have a chance to respond now.
Thank you. I've lived this for a long time in my limited time here, but bear with me on the response. Optimum's position consistently, going back to the 2022 docket, even before that, has been that the PEG funding model at every level is outdated. It's not taking account of streaming. It's disproportionately penalizing cable subscribers to pay for something for an entire community that then fewer people have access to. It sets fees that raise costs on customer bills for cable that that other types of media don't have to pay and therefore it's anti-competitive. There's so many problems with it. We have consistently advocated for a complete refresh and a reassessment and a reevaluation of that model. Being that that is something at the legislative level, that Pura has been very clear that that is not within their ambit to do, including creating a regionalized model. Being that we are where we are and the funding system is staying as it is, Optimum feels very strongly about maintaining control over the costs associated with PEG funding. Again, fewer than 40% of households subscribe to cable. It is an incredible burden on people within the state to do it. We do see declining usage in the studios in some places, obviously not in Litchfield, which is great. And I think the cable providers are uniquely situated to really balance that cost benefit in a way that a nonprofit isn't. Because we're accountable to our customers, we want to do everything that we can to make sure that people continue to receive this, that their bills aren't overly high. At the risk of being overly cheesy with this, we do feel like we're standing in the gap for the 97, 98, 99% of our subscribers who don't utilize PEG. And for us to keep funding a growing cost and place that on the backs of a smaller declining population just candidly seems unfair to us. So we support a whole-scale change. We want to work with the legislature to do that. We don't want to go to this middle ground where we lose the ability to connect with and keep customer accountability in terms of the costs that are associated with this. I will say personally, and this is especially after meeting Mr. Harrell yesterday, I also personally have concerns with the regionalized model. The idea that one community in Litchfield has the same interests or the same needs as Greenwich, Connecticut is bonkers to me. I'm from a state where there's a large difference among different cities and towns. And Mr. Harrell said yesterday, he said this community of people feels forgotten by Hartford or feels forgotten by these larger cities. And if you were to take away their PEG studio and take away their local access, that's taking something away from that community. So until there's a more sustainable model in place, we think that we're in the best position to maintain PEG in the way that it was designed, to control the costs associated with it, and to really support the localities where our employees are working and living every day.
Thank you, Attorney Greenleaf. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I just have a follow-up to that question. Have you submitted any proposals to the Energy and Technology Committee to fix the system you just described? Because I haven't seen any bills reported out of that committee since 2024 on this subject matter.
You're testing my memory a little bit because I joined the company in October of 22. I believe that the company was active in getting Pura to open the docket to study PEG and participated very actively in the 220626 docket, the premise of which was supposed to be that Pura would take all of this information together and make a recommendation. And I think they assessed all of that information and sent it back to the legislature. So we were very active in providing that.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. I drafted
We
that
have not
bill.
done an independent,
So
an independent piece of
post
legislation.
2022.
No.
Did the company support or oppose House Bill 5446 in 2024? I'll just read the bill title because numbers can't really recall bills by numbers. An act concerning funding for community access television, the Connecticut Television Network, and low-income internet access and taxation of communication service providers.
Be happy to get back to you. I was not with the company in 2024 and I lead our legislative efforts.
I feel like that could be a read-in if time permits. If not, we could switch over to a late file just to give you more time to go back.
Should be able to do it pretty quickly.
Okay. Defer to presiding officer.
Any activity related to a House Bill 5446 or?
Yeah, any public positions, either for or in opposition to.
That was 2024.
2024, yep, House Bill 5446.
That would be read in E, I believe.
That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Beecher, Commissioner Smith, any questions? No? All right. Well, I think we'll play musical chairs again, and I believe Pura Attorney Victoria Church will now pose some questions to the panel, so don't go away, please. You're not free yet.
Good afternoon, Attorney Church from Pura for the record. I do just want to state at the outset that although we waived proceeding with questions against Nutmeg for the time being, at some point, we would hope to return to those questions when the timing works appropriately. Good afternoon. Just to follow up on the last line of questioning before we move on to anything else. So you stated that fewer than 40% in the areas you cover of residents subscribe to cable. Is that correct?
No, that's a national trend. That was a statistic that I found a couple years, or actually a year or two ago from Pew Research. That's a national trend.
Do you know the trend in your area?
I do not.
Are you aware if it's more or less than 50%?
I'm not. I just know that regrettably it goes down year to year.
Safe to say below 50%.
And it's only the residents in your area who pay for cable channels who receive the PEG channels. Is that correct?
They are the only ones who receive the channel feeds. Anybody in the area can utilize the studios, can make a program, any of that stuff. But the only people who receive the channel feed are our customers of any cable company with whom we have an interconnection agreement.
And that's because they're not online anywhere, right? It's only on the 3 channels in each area?
Correct.
Right.
So can you explain to me how it's a disproportionate burden for the customers who pay for cable to receive programming?
If I stated it was disproportionate for them to, that was not my intention. My intention was it is a large number of people who are funding services that, based on our understanding, are utilized by very few of them. In the same way that we negotiate with Tennis Channel or any other channel based on our understanding of how many people want to watch it. If people aren't using it, we just don't make that agreement anymore. And so the same concept here, that we're carrying a channel and incurring a cost to do something that our understanding is very few of our subscribers utilize.
I'm looking at a couple of the letters that came in opposition. The one I'm specifically looking at is from the town of Darien. It, among others, notes that if there was a change, its funding would be reduced for its TV 79 by approximately $8,000. Do you have any awareness of where this $8,000 figure comes from?
No.
Optimum expressed concern in its opening statement that one of the major concerns with relinquishing control over Optimum's PEG operations is that the cost for its customers to support PEG operations will continue to increase. That was on page 3 of the opening statement. Given how caps are funded, can you please explain this statement further?
That was in the opening statement.
Yeah, page 3. Of what was filed. I'm not sure if the opening statement that was filed is
Two
the
pieces of
same
paper here.
as the one,
Oh,
it had I believe, I'm pulling it up one moment.
comments that were filed on February 2nd, 2026.
My apologies, yes. I believe they were filed saying opening statement. I could be wrong. Thank you, counsel.
And what was the question again?
You said you were concerned that costs would increase, and given how caps are funded through the annual docket and the CPI, can you explain your statement further?
Sure. Caps are funded by subscriber fees. Those subscriber fees are set by Pura after they assess the needs in order to maintain or satisfy community access obligations. So in other words, the amount of money that a cap needs in order to do its job. Those costs will continue to rise. If the number of subscribers continues to fall, that will necessitate that Pura increase that amount every year. And again, as my colleague mentioned briefly a few moments ago, several moments at this point, our only firsthand experience with that is the one funded or the one nonprofit cap that we have experience with, who is regularly asking for increases above the CPI or higher than what would be just the standard CPI increase. For us, that's an indicator that, again, without that connection to the costs that are actually passed on to the customer and the customer relationship, there would be less incentive to maintain those costs and to keep those costs low.
Are you aware of when the last time that an increase beyond CPI was made in those dockets?
Can you just repeat the question, please?
Or are you aware of when the last time an increase other than CPI was made in those dockets, the annual dockets,
Is that by any of them or just Soundview?
by any of them?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. If we could submit that later.
If you
We'd
don't
be
know,
happy
that's
to.
also an appropriate answer. I'm not asking you to learn something you don't know, just to, are you aware?
I'm not aware off the top of my head. It is somewhere in my notes.
If you'd like to return to it, I'm happy to return to it later. If you don't, it was simply a question about awareness, not necessities. The decisions are available for all of us and speak for themselves. Optum also provided a copy of its comments, which it filed in the CAP study docket, which was 2206-26. Again, this is in that as an attachment to the opening statement that we were just referencing that was filed on February 2nd. In these comments that you included with that opening statement from the CAP study docket, Optimum tentatively supported consolidating current PEG operations and facilities among larger areas of Connecticut not tied to the traditional franchise service areas and transferring all remaining MVPD PEG operations to independent PEG operators with a reconceived model for community access with additional spending oversight. Is that still Optimum's position?
Yes, to the extent that that contemplates a holistic review of it and not through the legislature. Yes.
In Optimum's view, and in your view as representatives of Optimum, what is the purpose of community access programming?
It's probably going to sound really simple. The purpose of community access is to give people in the local community access to be able to get onto the air and share their messages. So I really focus on the community, locality, and then the access as opposed to the solicitation.
I want to talk a little bit more about the fees in the annual CAPS docket. As stated, the most recent docket was 260106. Do you have an awareness of how these fees are charged or collected from customers?
I can speak for Optimum, and for us, we take the annual fee that is required, divide it by 12, add it as a government fee on our bills.
Okay, so approximately, what is the range of costs per month in Optimum's area on customer bills?
So for Litchfield, it would be about $1 a month. And for Norwalk, call it 60 cents a month.
So you've testified about the incredible burden on the cable customers of this amount. Can you give me a little bit more information on that?
I, th- I think that speaks for itself in the sense that any fee that increases the cost for a customer to subscribe to a service, and particularly increases the cost for them to subscribe to that service disproportionately to comparable products, is a burden on consumers because it restricts and limits their choices and takes away their money.
That's an interesting thing that you raised there, disproportionately to other products. Can you give me information about how much, let's say, it costs a customer per month to view, as you mentioned earlier, tennis?
I don't know.
I don't know those off the top of my head.
Okay, I would love to request an LFE with a breakdown of a high and low cost for channels to customers. I don't need every channel cost, but I'd love cost to
So-
customers.
So are these channels to which they would subscribe individually? My understanding, and it's been a while, that typically you'll get a bundle with different levels included. You might get the basic and basic enhanced and basic plus enhanced. So
Right? We don't do channel by channel breakdowns unless it's a specific channel or package add-on. And that would be the only thing, and those are within the control of the customer to select.
Okay, but it does sound like you just said you do channel by channel breakdown if a customer selects it.
No.
No.
Okay,
We
I'm
don't.
sorry, that's just what you stated.
I think what I was trying to say is, do we even offer channels that are just one-offs?
This is a different conversation, but not to my understanding, no. There's bundles.
Okay.
And
And I
We-
don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but my understanding was, let's say because you have to pay the tennis channel provider. If you discover that very few people want to watch the tennis channel, you as Optimum would decide, we're not going to carry the tennis channel anymore, as opposed to having the ability I want to add tennis channel to my contract for $10 a month.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah,
That
does-
actually gets to my point,
does
which
it-
was what I was asking for, was how much it costs to get the tennis channel.
For,
Me as
for,
a
for
customer-
Optimum to buy? Optimum. I think that's
gonna be-
probably proprietary
Very
information.
proprietary, and we're not gonna.
I'm,
Certainly, if it is something the company wishes to be proprietary, they can file it
Would
with a
you-
motion.
I,
Is it so relevant to these proceedings that?
there is,
I challenge, I object to the relevance, first
I,
off.
I will allow Attorney Church to explain why she feels this is relevant before I rule on the objection.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of testimony about how disproportionate and incredible this cost is on the customers of Optimum. And there's also been testimony that it costs about 60 cents to $1. I'm sorry, I forgot what the second figure you said was per month. Given that testimony is competing, I would really like to see what other costs the customers are paying for such that this is so disproportionate.
we are happy to provide a rate card that we file with Pure regularly. In terms of a breakdown of costs by channel, I don't think we can provide that. And
Commissioner Deidre.
I'd like to pursue this line from another angle. Do you have a regional sports fee?
I don't think we do anymore. I think we used to, but I don't think we do anymore. I'll have to check.
check.
Yeah, that'd be something that you could bring back either as a read-in or a late file, because that's another example of a sort of socialized fee across customers,
Sure.
wouldn't it be? Okay, so I think that could be an interesting example, and if there's anything else,
And if it's helpful, just along that line, and again, we'll provide that information, but recently, one of Optimum's major changes that it has done is to be developing packages that don't include those fees, because we got a lot of feedback from our customers that they did not want to pay for regional sports fees because they didn't want them. And so we created a package where they did not have to pay for those and they could just get their TNT, their basic non-sports channels, because again, we were getting so much negative feedback about those additional fees.
right, and I want to be careful here because it's an imperfect analogy.
Sure.
The purposes are quite different, so, but I think it kind of goes to the, kind of a similar concern.
So with that,
Yes.
I am happy to, if you feel information is necessary that they could supply under a protected order, but I'm deferring to you, Attorney Church.
Yes, I think the regional sports feed is a great example. I'm interested in understanding the disproportionate language that's been used repeatedly, and that's really what I'm trying to get at here. So I think that a regional sports feed is a great example. And I would happily take that as a late file Exhibit 21.
Okay, and obviously, if the company still has a problem, you could file a written objection and we will consider what's there. But I hope this is an appropriate middle ground.
We appreciate that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Attorney Church, and thank you, Commissioner Beecher.
Um, You just mentioned that you developed a package with and without that regional sports fee. What's the savings to customers between those two?
Again, I would have to point to our rate card, which I don't have on me. But they're not necessarily apples to oranges. I think it might be helpful. We're happy to provide our rate card that shows all of our cable television and TV offerings.
Would we like the rate card as late filed
Appreciate
Exhibit
that.
22?
I would appreciate that as well. Thank you. I think for 2025 is fine. Apologies, my telephone is.
21 was the regional sports fee amount.
And thank you for bearing with me as we sort of figured out a middle ground. I appreciate it.
While you have a pause, let me add, can I assume it might be included, but if there's like a TV broadcast fee, or sometimes it's called that, or local channeling.
We'll
fee?
provide a
Okay,
list of all of our
So
fees.
that'll be included. Thank you.
General Statute 16331A subsection B states that each company or organization selected pursuant to subsection C of this section in consultation with the franchise's advisory council shall provide facilities, equipment, and technical and managerial support to enable the production of meaningful community access programming within its franchise area. As representatives of Optimum, what is your understanding of Optimum's role in the context of public education and government channels, specifically as it relates to enabling the production of meaningful community access programming?
The same facilities that Optimum makes available to the public for purposes of its P channel of the PEG trio is also available to education and government. Many education and government entities wish to either broadcast or film from other locations, and we work with them to make that available. I would also point to the fact that we do provide, in addition to the PEG-PISA funds, we provide grant funding to local areas that is then distributed to education and government entities to help them with equipment and other resources that they might need.
Are there any areas that Optimum, where Optimum has customers where they do not serve as a CAP currently?
Yes,
And that's the Soundview media area?
yes.
It's a portion of Area 2,
Are there any other areas?
not that I'm aware of.
There was a letter from Jim Cameron who's the program director of Darien 79. Is that gentleman associated with Optimum in any way?
No,
Thank you. Does Optimum fund Darien TV 79 using any of the capped fees collected annually?
yeah, so Darien would be able to apply for a grant through that 100K we allocate to the A9CC.
Okay, so there's no direct funding, but Darien may be receiving funds from out of that 100,000 that we've
Correct.
discussed previously.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's been discussion about multiple locations that have fiber going to them that may or may not produce content. I believe that was in response to NTV 8. Can you please, I believe that you are going to be updating your response to NTV 8 as requested by Nutmeg for LFE 20. As you update that, can you please identify, add a column to that list, which of these municipalities on the list regularly, and for the sake of this question, I'll say regularly, should mean at least once a month, produces content which Optimum receives? Is that clear? I'm sorry, I went a little all over the place.
If by receives you mean is broadcast on the channel?
Well, Optimum receives contact, which is then broadcast. Is that correct?
So if these, I'm stepping out of my technical boat. If these have a direct feed into the channel, then it would be something that would bypass Optimum and just go onto the channel. Or do we have to?
Live program, so the meeting, have to build a window for them to broadcast it.
Okay.
That's.
So would you like a list of which municipalities feed into the Optimum system with a program at least
I
once
think I
a
might
month?
need to
Would
back
that
up on
make-
the
All right.
technical a little bit before I get there. I apologize. From what I understood from the earlier testimony, educational and government programming is produced in some areas and then aired. Is that correct? It's not produced at the studio in general. It's produced at a school, at a
Can be,
government
yeah.
building. Yeah. So how does Optimum get those video files? And please excuse my non-technical knowledge.
I think
How do they become aired?
a content creator could use that TelView
Okay.
platform that we discussed earlier. And then, yeah, I just found this in my notes, and this might be above my head technically as well, but I'll try and read it for everybody.
I appreciate it.
For Area 1, Optimum's head end has no control over public access programming. E and G feeds received are sent from the originator via fiber, received in the head end, and passed to an encoder that inserts the feed into a QAM carrier.
So clear. I appreciate it. Please excuse my sarcasm. It's an excellent answer. I just do not have the technical knowledge to understand it. Are you aware if anywhere in that process a human being at Optimum has any responsibilities?
Is this for area 1 or area 20 or both?
Both.
Okay, they may be different answers. That's why I want to check.
Thank you.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My apologies. View service, which is, whoops, I did it again. Thank you. I'm hapless. You can use the TelView service, which is where you put it through and you would schedule it and then it would air. Or if you're talking about fiber, you mentioned fiber, and I'm not trying to nitpick.
Please.
If you're talking about fiber running from a school into our head end, that would be essentially live programming. It can be a tape, of a school play, but they are sending it into a live window to air at that time. So the human element would tell View we would have to see it and make sure it's okay and review it and then schedule it. The human element with the fiber would be that we have to build a live window for it to air, and we would have to schedule it recurring, weekly or twice weekly, and then end it when they want to end it. That said, most of the school programming that I get is I get flash drives and external hard drives where somebody will come in and we'll upload it together and then schedule it together in Area 20.
Okay. If something does come in by fiber, do you review the content?
No, I mean, they know what's expected of them. It's supposed to be whatever it's supposed to be, a BOE meeting or something like that, a Board of Ed meeting. But it's live. And as everybody asks, there is no 7-second delay. I don't have a 7-second delay. So whatever they're saying in the meeting goes over the air.
Okay. And for the human content, you talked about the scheduling a window for that. About how long does that take?
It depends. It shouldn't take long. What it is we have to find out how long the file is. So, and again, not to make this a 67-minute dissertation, but if they wanted an hour slot, but it's 63 minutes, then we have to find them a 90-minute slot. And then we have to find a place where it fits. And then we say, hey, would you like 2 p.m.? And they're like, no good, I want prime time. And then you haggle over it, and it has to be something they agree with. And then you would slot it. And then you would have to figure out how long they want it to run. Is it a one-off? Is it running for 3 months, or do they want it to run all year?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I might have one more follow-up on that. Trying to find my question. When either something comes in, like the live feed, or when something comes in on a flash drive and it is reviewed by staff, are there any logs or records kept of that review?
First, just let me ask you really quickly. Did I answer your previous question? I went on and on and on. but
Appreciate it, yes.
I don't know if there was an answer
I
in there.
believe so. Thank
Okay.
you.
So you were asking when we review it, is there a log of that review?
Yes.
I keep a log of when a show is uploaded or created and then when it first airs. If the show is rejected for some reason, I don't keep a log of rejected shows. I just say that this file was no good, it was a bad file, or you can't hear it or see it, or there's commercial content, you can't use it. So I don't keep a log of rejected files. But if somebody puts something in the system that we then air, I do keep a spreadsheet of when it was input, when it was uploaded or created, and when it aired.
Okay. I'd like to request an LFE of that spreadsheet since January 2025.
Yeah, it's Stone Age. It's an Excel. It looks like the. Girl
You're
Scout
talking
cookie
to an
or-
authority that still uses Lotus Notes, so I don't
Okay.
think we
Okay,
should
no,
throw stones
I
here.
didn't want to get anybody's hopes up.
I currently have an Excel spreadsheet up on my screen.
Okay, yeah.
The spreadsheet is fine.
I call it the Girl Scout cookie form because it looks like it's got pink and yellow and red columns. Okay, so yeah.
So that would be late filed exhibit 23, copy of the programming log, or?
Is that a sufficient?
So this is, yeah, I have both. Well, not right here, but you want all drop-offs and all in-house episodes, or just drop-offs as they're called, which would be external content. Drop-offs includes coming in with a flash drive and uploading it. It's just not created in the studio. Do you want?
Drop-house and in-house would be, drop-off
In-house.
and in-house would be appreciated.
As far as live feeds, I count those in the episodes we have. Like there's a church service that has fiber that goes live every Sunday, for example. That would be included, but Board of Ed meetings are something I don't keep track of if you were interested in seeing that too.
I would appreciate a spreadsheet that keeps track of anything you have.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to create something you don't
Okay.
have.
I
We-
think it's
have-
always to the best of your ability, apply the information we've asked for which we've asked, and then, we just don't keep those records or whatever for any other part that you can't supply. So that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, enjoy your color-coded Excel.
I'm a big Excel color coder. I appreciate it. Thank you. In Optimum's response to NTV 26, you listed the 3 employees who work on CAP operations for both Area 1 and Area 20. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we report.
And it's the same employees for both areas?
We report them on both caps, yes.
But both caps have different, annual reports have different amounts for salaries. Is that correct?
Yes.
So to understand the total spent on salaries for those 3 employees, we should be adding up the amount of salary in both annual reports for Area 1 and Area 20?
Yes, it would be the aggregate of that. And I believe we gave some color to that. What was the supplemental?
Supplemental OCC 23.
Thank you. How does Optimum enable the production of meaningful community access programming?
We maintain equipment, studios, Teleview access. We run the feeds. We provide trainings. We air the channels.
And the staff that it takes to run.
And please excuse me for jumping around. I'm going third. The topics do not run as smoothly as I would hope they would. In your response to NTV 32, I'll give you a moment to get there. Okay. So this provides the per subscriber funding, income collected, and things like that. There's also a column for subscriber fees unspent and carried over, which has been left blank. And with a note that says Optimum funds its community access operations according to its statutory obligation. Can you explain why there was no response there beyond that note?
I think that was more to the point of the fact that where there is a deficit, we do everything that we're required to do, even if it means dipping into our own funds. I think it's probably also a reflection on the fact that even as we've gone through this proceeding, we've identified additional expenses of PEG that were not reported on here. And so that's just an acknowledgement that it's hard to keep an exact dollar figure, but that all of that, we do what we're required to do.
And as for the final column, the equipment inventory, is there some reason you've stated not applicable and not provided that in response to this interrogatory?
My recollection is that that information was provided in the CAP reports. But to the extent that it was requesting new inventory or new equipment that was added every year, there was no new equipment added during those years.
So is that the same inventory that is attached to the annual reports, which shows purchases no later than 2012?
Correct.
Thank you.
With the caveat, as Mr. Harrell mentioned earlier, that it looks like we have bought some things from time to time that we have not reflected in our reports.
In your response to NTV 39, I'm not sure you need to go to this. It's a language question. CG hours weekly, that means character generated hours weekly, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
What does Optimum count as character generated content?
My understanding is that that's what we would call the slate. So when there are no programs on, it's a space filler on the screen that will say, stay tuned for our next broadcast or stay tuned for additional public content. Some of those slides have the contact number for them to contact Optimum if they're interested in public channels, but it's just a space filler.
And who produces that character-generated content?
I don't know who produces it. I believe that they're already fixed and they autofill when there's no programming on. So if there's a blank slot, it will automatically get filled in that spot.
And so on, and forgive me if I don't remember the area, but in the area where PBS airs, is that in place of essentially the character generated content? It's what airs automatically if there's no other content available?
Correct. And that would be area 20 on the education channel.
Thank you. In Optimum's response to interrogatory OCC 11, Optimum states that the facilities and equipment are not included in this annual budget since facilities are located within Optimum-owned buildings and equipment purchases are considered as needed on a per occurrence basis. Is that a correct recitation?
Could you say it again? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. The Optimum states that facilities and equipment are not included in this annual budget since facilities are located within Optimum-owned buildings and equipment purchases are considered as needed on a per occurrence basis. Is that right?
That's what it reads, yes.
So looking at that answer and then your annual reports, can you explain to me why that, or how that statement relates to the fact that your annual reports include approximately 55,000 for rent, 46,000 for facilities and building maintenance, 5,000 for real estate taxes for Norwalk, and similar but lower numbers for Litchfield? I'm just trying to understand the two statements together.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to take into account the first paragraph of the answer, which is that we create an annual budget for the 3 states that require us to carry PEG operations. So that's New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And some of the personnel that we have here function in all 3 states. And so the annual budget for all of the PEG operations for the company is created. I think this is just saying that the line items for those expenses are not included in that company-wide expense, but are later allocated based on square footage, uses of utilities, et cetera.
Okay. You stated earlier that you have no Connecticut specific budget.
Correct. We create an annual budget and then correct, there's no Connecticut specific. Yes.
And this may be a sort of an accounting language issue that I'm having. But I think I'm confused as to how you determine what goes to Connecticut versus the other states, and how those funds are either mingled or kept separate, depending on the different states and the different responsibilities.
I'll take that in 2 parts. So the first part is the money that comes in. So the money that comes in is what we're statutorily required to collect. We calculate that on our own customers and collect it from others, and we have those dollar amounts by area. In terms of the expenses, when it's a building, for example, we're able to allocate that because we're able to look at the size of the building, the percentage of it that's used for PEG, the percentage of costs that we spend on our building total, and then we allocate those down to the specific PEG studio. When it comes to some of the other expenses that are more broadly utilized at the company, for example, accounting, that is a derivation of the larger overall number. And that first takes the statewide allocation of those expenses, how much is allocated to operations in Connecticut. And then it is then further broken down by cable subscribers to these local areas. And then it is a percentage of that is allocated to the provision of PEG services. So the related accounting that goes into filling out the annual report, or for example. So we have a standard factor that we multiply that to approximate what those values are.
Thank you. That's helpful. In your discussion with OCC, you discussed the delta between the fees collected for caps versus the expense that it actually costs to run the caps. Where do the funds to cover the delta between those two costs come from?
The company.
Do they come from a specific account within the company?
No, they're just absorbed into the larger company budget.
So when accounting for those costs, what are they called?
They are the assessment of the taxes, for example, on our Litchfield studio. That is a line item in the optimum budget. And then we allocate the PEG monies towards that line item in our budget. In terms of, it's a paper exercise in terms of how you get there, but that's how we do it. So the line item remains on the company's budget, and then it is reimbursed, so to speak, with PEG monies. And so if those line items are ever more, as they are now, than the money we take in, then the company just eats that cost, but there's no specific accounting saying that there's a deficit.
So there's no specific account reference that you would use, no specific account that the money would come from.
That is not that I'm aware of, but I don't work in our accounting group. I don't know any more specifics beyond my general understanding of how the accounting works.
And is it customer money?
It would be revenue generated by the company for sure.
From customer bills, presumably?
Yes, or I mean, it could be funds that we've raised through any number of different stock sales, investments, securities offerings. I mean, I don't want to be specific that it's just customer funds, but it is company funds broadly.
And is there some reason why you don't track it specifically?
I don't know what the origination of the current system is. That long predates me. I would assume that it was, again, an effort to try to make it as easy as possible to keep up with the accounting and to, again, not incur additional costs to burden the PEG operations.
And is there some reason why you choose to spend any more than what is received from the CAPS fee?
Currently, the amounts that we spend that are over that are what we believe are necessary to comply with our statutory obligations to provide meaningful community access.
If I could just try, so it'd be basically a reduction to net income. If your expenses exceed your revenues, netting out grant support, then it's, as you say, you know, it's a corporate expense.
Functionally, yes.
So like if you were a regulated utility, we would be thinking about this a little bit differently, right? Because we think about contributed funds and so on and so on. But since that's not the case, it's basically that. But I guess, you know, getting to Attorney Church's question, you don't specifically track your support for this. You don't actually try to your knowledge, you're not trying to account for that in a way to, you know, I don't know, just to bring focus to it either internally or externally.
We are not tracking day-to-day expense line items now.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not used as an offset for anything else?
No, not to my knowledge. No.
You mentioned in your discussions with Nutmeg that Optimum hasn't updated anything since SD cameras because you chose not to engage in this update. And you mentioned that there were internal discussions. Were you a part of those internal discussions in the choice to remain in SD?
I was not.
Was anyone on the panel?
No. I think that was before your time. Yeah, no, neither of us were.
Following up on Commissioner Smith's questions, can you please set forth for me every distinct way in which Optimum lets community members know about the CAP studios and or the PEG programming?
Sure. As mentioned, discuss public access at advisory council meetings, which are open to users and the public. We promote public access content on the program guide, regularly broadcast character-generated text messages on access channels. We've got a public access policy handbook, which is available at Optimum stores. And then, as mentioned earlier, within the taxes and fees on your monthly bill, there's a reference to PEG channels,
And that's the total?
in addition to things like word of mouth, phone calls, talking with visitors.
Okay,
Yes,
are those steps that Optimum actively takes?
yes.
When you say phone calls, what do you mean?
Mr. Harrell might be able to better answer this one.
I may be able to clarify. Are you referring that you answer the phone if somebody calls in?
No, my understanding is that we will, this is my conversation with Mr. Harrell from yesterday, but that he has organically reached out to organizations, schools and whatnot to advise them of the availability and to encourage them to submit programming or to consider making a show on the program. That's what.
Okay, if I
was
could
hoping
follow
to
up
talk
then, yeah.
about.
Is, to follow up on that, is this something you've done proactively or in response to a need from the community?
I think it was in response to a need from the community because some of the feedback I get is that, I mean, no matter how well it's pushed, there's going to be people who don't know it exists. And there are people who come in to be guests on shows and they say, what is this? And they don't know what public access is. There's also some confusion with public access and PBS. So you have to sort of, you know what I'm saying? People come in and they don't exactly know what it is, and then I explain it to them. So yeah, so I reach out, I cold call organizations and tell them that they can use the studio for free. They can get the word out. They can do an interview show, a talk show, a general information show. So I cold call around, and in public, we've actually had word of mouth where administrators from certain organizations have told other administrators what I've told them, and then we get people that way.
About how often do you cold call organizations?
I do it several times a week, as many as I can find. All the schools, just civic organizations, political parties, because political parties can do shows as well. I'm forgetting, what am I forgetting? Well, things like the United Way. You know, I'll cold call organizations like that and just let them know that if they're interested, you know, they can always use the studio, and it's free of charge, and it doesn't imply a partnership with the company.
Thank you. When PBS is airing on the education channel, does Optimum also air PBS's corporate sponsorship spots?
Okay. So you're saying when it airs on the education channel, so if a PBS show comes on that says this is underwritten by Exxon, I don't know if they do that anymore. Yes, it airs as is. It's regular PBS programming.
Just one moment to see if there's any additional questions from me. I believe that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Church. I think we'll take a 5-minute break now and resume. I believe Cox is next on the agenda.
I'll also have a relatively brief redirect.
Redirect? Okay. Thank you, Attorney Bester. Will we be back at, let's say, 3:35?
Every day. Maybe on commission.
Yeah, unbelievable job.
I don't know.
It is a day, sir. Apps for me.
The tab see.
You've never really.
Yeah, exactly, because you're like, oh, movies are obsessed.
It's the most memorable thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, and then a few months later, you forget.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I know, grab your parking, if you. Okay, let me head that way with you and then.
Yeah.
And then come back.
Okay.
You too, so it's totally fine.
Reconvene.
It
It was very seated, we'll hang on.
Oh, you're back?
He sees that he'd never make it back out, but. So I'll be back.
I was gonna be late, so I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. Good.
All right. All right, we will reconvene. I believe you have some questions on redirect, Attorney Bester.
We do. And first, I'm gonna pass out some photographs for you.
Sir.
I was going to say, did you give one to our peer attorney? Thank you. And, oh, and Attorney Bester, would we like these entered into the record
Yes, please.
as late filed exhibit? It would be 24 as optimum photograph display or something like that?
Yeah, optimum studio
Oh,
photographs.
okay.
So there's been a lot of testimony so far as to the condition or the, studios being non-operational or closed specifically. I'd just like to go through some photographs with you. Can you tell me what the first photograph is?
Yes, I think I mentioned earlier, so if you walk into the lobby area at our Norwalk building, there is this bulletin board with these two printouts with a phone number that would reach Jen, not this Jennifer, Jen Olaya, who's a PEG coordinator and could help you with training or scheduling.
So that phone number would that help a person book studio time in the Norwalk studio?
Yes,
And moving to the second photograph, can you tell me what this is a photograph of?
yeah, that's a control editing room in the Norwalk building.
And can you tell me where this photograph came from?
My iPhone,
And from what date?
June 9th, yesterday.
Thank you. Moving to the third photograph, can you tell me what this is a photograph of?
A little sitting area outside of the studio and that prior editing room. That
This is available for any PEG users to have a break? Is that what this is intended for?
it's my understanding.
Moving to the next photograph, can you tell me what this is a photograph of?
This is the studio space in Norwalk.
And was this also taken yesterday on your iPhone?
Correct.
This is a current condition of the studio. Is that accurate?
As of about, noon yesterday.
Moving to the next photograph. Can you tell me what this is a photograph of?
Yes, this is a photograph of the Litchfield studio,
Um,
and the camera is the green screens that you can pull around the place where they would film
Can you tell me when this photograph was taken?
yesterday, not at 9:30. The clock was off, but yesterday.
And was this a photograph that you took?
I did on my iPhone.
Moving to the next photograph, can you tell me what this photograph shows?
This is a continuing tour. So we asked Mr. Harrell to give us a tour. The woman in the front is my mother. She went with me. And he was explaining the processes that they utilize. So that is my mom and Mr. Harrell standing in the studio.
Appreciate that. Moving to the next photograph, can you tell me what this is a photograph of?
This is the control editing operations room at the Litchfield studio.
And was this also taken at the same time as the previous photo?
Yes.
Thank you. Is it your understanding that these studios are closed?
No, they are open.
Is it your opinion that the studio is open?
Yes,
And is it accurate that a person in the public could book time to utilize the studio to create public access programming?
yes.
Thank you. Yes.
In the first photograph, just out of curiosity, the phone number has a 914 area code, which is Westchester County, New York. So would this be the studio, or would this be an employee's personal cell phone?
The employee's phone number.
The employee's personal cell phone number or the employee's company
It's it.
issued
I
phone?
think it's a work phone number.
So these kind of sticking with the studios, these studios, is it your understanding that these studios are maintained using subscriber funds?
Yes.
And are these studios open and maintained all year round?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving to staffing. There's been a lot of testimony on the 3 employees that at least a part of their time is dedicated to PEG access. Are these employees hired and paid only when studio time is booked?
No, they're full-time Optimum employees who are utilized in the studios and elsewhere in our PEG operations.
So is it accurate that a staff member's salary is required to be paid by the company regardless of whether the studio time is booked?
Yes.
Thank you. OCC asked you questions regarding your operating plan should you continue to be the CAP provider. Is it your plan to continue to operate as you currently do?
Yes, we'll continue to do whatever we're determined to be required to do, and we'll continue to satisfy our statutory obligations.
And if FIRA were to tell you that your obligation is anything other than what you currently do, would you take the appropriate steps to do so?
Absolutely.
There are some questions about your subscriber numbers and the fact that Optimum tracks its subscriber numbers through its billing service. Is there any reason to believe that Optimum does not accurately track its subscriber numbers?
No, our billing system would be very accurate with that information.
I mean, you issue bills through your billing service to a specific number of accounts, is that correct?
Yes,
And these accounts are who pays you for your services.
correct.
And so it would be in Optimum's best interest to accurately track its subscriber numbers, is that correct?
Yes,
And is it accurate that that is where the subscriber numbers come from that are reported to Pura?
yes,
Or correct? Thank
Yeah.
you. So in the annual reports, there's been some question because I just want to ask some direct questions about it. The numbers reported of number of programs that are shown, is it your understanding that these are a one-time show program?
I think the Pure report requires us to report average weekly users. And so if it says there were 12 programs filmed or whatever, that's an average of 12 a week.
Okay, so that's not 12 per year based on your understanding.
That's not my understanding. Correct.
And I think in Litchfield, in the Litchfield area, Doug, your understanding of what is shown on the reports would back up that these are not, the numbers shown on the reports are not a single occurrence. It's sort of on a ongoing basis. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's really, 12 is really just 12 titles. 12 shows, the actual episodes is something that's not listed on the report.
And so if we were to try to update the number, at least for, let's say, what's gone on so far in 2026 or what was there in 2025, is it possible to come up with a number of individual showings? I'm just asking you what's possible.
Right now, or produce one from the numbers that we track
Produce it as a late file. Would it be possible?
to how many episodes have been done, how many actually, yes,
and
yeah,
From let's say the last year and then what's already this year.
right. Yes, that would be possible.
I think it would be to the authority's benefit to understand better how that actually shows, because I think I would like to have that included as a late file if possible. Would that be of the authority's interest?
So late file 25 as the total number of programs broadcast in 2025 and up to June 10th of this year? Is
So-
that
Yes, based on what they're able to do.
based on what, from both areas, correct? Or just 20?
No, from both areas if possible. There is a description of cable cast logs and TelView logs. I want to understand, especially Doug, are you able to speak about what is able to be produced off of TelView?
It's used by people to upload shows remotely if you want to. It's also used by us to schedule. If you're referring to, I don't actually have a lot of TelView clients. It's not an and or.
Would it show would it show the programming that's not utilized through TelView, that's not uploaded via TelView?
The reports, you're talking about the DPUC reports. It doesn't differentiate between which ones are uploaded remotely and which ones aren't.
But does it show them?
Does it air the programs?
Sorry, would a log printed off of TelView encapsulate all programming?
Yes, everything ultimately winds up on TelView, whether I put it there or they put it there remotely. Yes, and a log would show that.
Does it show a file name that was like on the USB stick that was handed to you, or does somebody have to go in and change that name?
Either somebody has to retitle it. Either we tell them to retitle it or I retitle it. And it has to include the name of the show, so it's easier to locate. So if you want to show a repeat, it doesn't say 00369 BF or something like that. It has to have the show title in it. So we actually ask that they include the show title and the date. So it's much easier to find if they want to rerun or they're asking us about a particular episode that they did.
Okay, thank you.
Or I'll just title it that way.
Doug, have you seen an uptick in programming in the Litchfield area?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit of what you've seen can you explain that?
I don't know the reason for it. I'm not being coy. I don't know what the reason is, but we were closed for a while during COVID for distancing because obviously when somebody is interviewing somebody else, you're going to be very close together. So we were closed for a little bit to require distancing. And then when it reopened, It was sort of a slow roll up. Some people never came back. Some people stopped doing shows altogether. Others took 6 months to get going again. So it got on a roll. And since then, over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been an uptick in interest in programming. There's been more shows produced at the studio and more shows produced outside that are aired at the studio.
You mentioned that you had a walk-in last week. Can you describe what that was?
It was a person who came in, he contacted me, he called me and said, well, actually, yeah, he did walk in first. He walked into the studio and he had said he wanted to do a show. He got a flyer in his cable bill and he was inquiring about it. Said, I can do a show for free. Is this true? And he wanted to know about it. So then I described it and I described what Access was. And now we're not producing it yet because we have to go through time slots and he has to be trained and stuff like that. But he is interested in doing a show now.
So there was a question earlier in the day about whether there are bill inserts or anything like that promoting PEG. So it's your understanding, at least based on this interaction that you had, that that's probably accurate.
Yes, based on that. That's what he said. That's what he told me, that I didn't suggest anything or where did you find this? How did you hear about us? He offered it, that it was something in his bill that told him that he could do a show.
So even with this programming surge that you described recently, do you feel that the studio in Litchfield provides an important service to the community?
Yes.
Do you think that removing the studio from this location would negatively impact that community service provided in the area?
Yes.
Can you describe what you believe just based on, you live in the area, correct?
Yes. Yep. One of the area towns. Yep.
Can you describe just an approximate drive time from the furthest part of your area to the Farmington location approximately of the Nutmeg Studio?
I'm guessing here, but it would take a little while. I would think without traffic, 40 minutes or 45 minutes, something like that from the furthest area, maybe a little bit more.
And traffic would impact that?
Yeah.
Are you aware of any public transportation that would get from your area to the Farmington location? And you don't have to talk to anything you're not.
Yeah, I'm not really well versed in but it is not, which you're probably aware, it's not the most Connecticut as a whole is not the most publicly transported state in the union. I'm not aware of a way to get there, but I could be wrong about that.
Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions for you, Doug, but turning back to the rest of the panel. Is it your understanding, so there's a lot of discussion of the $100,000 payment to the Area 1 Cable Advisory Council, which calls itself Area 9 Cable Council. Is it your understanding that Kira, in a prior franchise review, reviewed and approved the scenario of that grant arrangement under the prior franchise?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is it your understanding that when your company transferred from a franchise to a CCFA, that those prior franchise arrangements were supposed to continue?
That's the company's understanding.
And when your company converted its CCFA into a CVFA, is it your understanding that your legal obligations, the company's obligations under that it was currently providing, continued?
Yeah, that's the company's understanding. So that we maintain responsibility for PEG in that area,
Is it,
those areas.
just asking, do you think it makes sense that that would happen? Because I think the alternative is that then there would be no party in with those prior obligations, like such as to run PEG.
Can we get those docket numbers from those prior decisions? Could those be supplied, or just so we have clarity in the record?
It is in the record.
Is in the record. If you could just indicate where it is, Attorney Bester, then
Yes, my
That-
computer screen turned off. It is in the record as exhibit, the final decision in that docket is exhibit OCC 25 from Optimum submitted.
okay.
And the docket number, at least for that area, is 050410.
050410. Thank you.
But just further to that question, yes, I think our understanding was that we would continue under the obligations that we had before, because the alternative, as you mentioned, would be that there would be no PEG provider because it was the incumbent cable provider in the area who held that responsibility.
Yep, and so although the company has become a statewide CVFA holder, does your company offer video service, cable service to residential customers outside of your prior areas? Your prior franchise areas? If you don't know, you don't have to answer.
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
And pardon my interruption again. Was under the impression you'd referenced a couple of docket numbers with regard to the legacy grant program and then the changeover.
The changeovers were done through a series of filings, and we can, there's actually already been a request by Nutmeg that those be filed. I don't remember the late file exhibit, but
So we've asked for the record of that. Was it 2002? Why do I have that stick in my?
8 is when they requested the transfer to a CCFA, I believe. And then I believe it's 2010, subject to check, the transfer, the conversion to the CVFA.
So I have in late file 16 letter from 2008 transferring business from CVFA.
Yes.
Is there additional docket or you reference filings referring to something earlier than that?
I think there is a docket for the change to the CCFA. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we can provide that as a.
Can we
read-in.
get as a read-in?
Or like,
What?
A read-in, yeah.
Okay.
It'd be very easy to pull up if we haven't.
So that's the change to CVFA, the docket.
That's the change to the CCFA.
The initial change, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Um,
So that would be read in F.
And you're just looking for the docket number, right? Okay, we can provide that. So there's been a discussion about whether shows should be shown in SD or HD. Are you aware of a requirement to show in HD in Connecticut?
We're not aware of a requirement to do so.
But if a requirement were passed to show PEG in HD, would Optimum follow that requirement?
We will absolutely follow all requirements that are set forth in law or the regulations of this agency.
There's been some insinuation that by Optimum showing content, either public PBS content or a radio show, that there's commercials being aired. Does Optimum seek out any commercials to show on public access?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Does Optimum produce commercial content for money to be aired on its public access channel?
Not on its PEG channels, no.
Thank you. Are you aware of, in addition to PEG, are you aware of the gross earnings receipts requirement? in Connecticut?
Generally, yes.
Can you tell me what approximately that is?
My understanding is that Connecticut state law requires all cable providers to remit 5% of gross earnings to the state. In addition to that, an additional 0.5% or 1/4%, I don't remember which one, on top of that. So additional 0.5 or 1/4% of gross earnings is also submitted to the state from its cable subscribing revenue, top line revenue, to fund PEG, PISA grants. So the 5% gross revenue goes to the state, the 0.5% goes to PEG, PISA, and then on top of that is the required subscriber funding or support for PEG.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I believe Vice Chair Conte has a few questions for the
Just
panel.
one. So I guess, is it fair to say that the photos provided by Nutmeg and Optimum are both accurate?
I can't speak to the accuracy of the Nutmeg's photos of its own facilities. But I trust Ms. Wedler when she says that she went to our facility in April of 2025 and found them. So I have no reason to doubt that. And then the photos that we've submitted are accurate as of yesterday.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And I will like to offer Nutmeg, as they had not seen these photographs before, if they would like a brief opportunity to cross these witnesses. Just about the subject of the photos.
Thank you, Commissioner Cheeseman. I just have a question on, obviously you saw my green papers for the bulletin board here. When were these changed out?
Yep, that's how they appeared when I took the photo yesterday.
Okay. Thank you. Chris, you have some technical questions?
Yeah, and this is more of a technical question on the studio cameras that you have. Again, basing on your asset list that hasn't been updated since 2012, and you've testified that nothing has been, no equipment has been purchased since 2020 through 2025 for these studios. Are these cameras then, were they purchased and on your asset list prior to 2012?
I don't know. I would assume so. If
Would your studio operator know when those were installed?
I think that's a different question. I think you asked if they were on our asset list.
Fine, okay.
And to do that, I would have to go back and look, but I don't have an answer to that question.
Can you tell me, in the photo with the coffee cups in the microwave, is that also the area used by News 12 employees, or is this dedicated to the PEG facility? Because I know that when we looked at the diagram that's in the annual report, edit suites and bathrooms and studios for PEG and News 12 are kind of all connected. And so I'm wondering, is this used by the News 12 folks, or is this just for PEG access here?
As you explained, it's in the same sort of area.
Thank
So
you.
I don't have an answer for you. The door was open
Yep.
and accessible from.
How about these edit rooms? Would you-
Those, to my understanding, are specific to PEG.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, again, I'm just seeing these photos now, so I
Great.
apologize for the extra questions, but do you happen to know the model of these, or did you have a photo that shows the brand of these cameras?
Not to my knowledge. No.
I don't know the answer to that.
No. What about in the Litchfield studio? Do you know what
I don't
cameras
know
you
the answer
use
to
in the
that
Litchfield
question.
studio?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Would we be able to have that as a read-in or late filed exhibit as to what cameras you utilize in the Litchfield and Norwalk studios?
We can find that
Thank you
information.
very much, because, and the reason why I asked that are these, thank you. Thank you.
So can we, would that be more appropriate for read-in or read-in? Okay, so that would be read-in G, the model of the cameras used in the Litchfield studio?
And are these cameras recording in 4:3 or 16:9?
I don't know. I'm guessing 4:3.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're reporting that 0 shows have been produced at the facility in Norwalk only, not Area 20, but the Norwalk area, if that's what you've reported in your annual reports for the last 5 years, then that means that this studio here that we're seeing with the flags and the blue rug has not been utilized in all that time. Would that be correct?
Not to our understanding, no.
Okay, then any programming that's done out of this studio would have to be reflected in the annual reports, and the annual reports are reflecting 0 programs have been produced out of Norwalk and since
the question-
COVID.
If the question is whether our PEG studios are utilized for News 12, the answer is no.
No, no,
So
no.
we utilize our PEG studios for PEG programming.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. I'm sorry. My question has nothing to do with News 12. My question is, this studio here with the blue rug is the PEG studio, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if Optimum is reporting that nothing has been produced out of their Norwalk facility since COVID, then that means, my question is, that means that this hasn't been used since that time. Is that correct?
I think Optimum's reporting speaks for itself. It's already in the record.
I'm sorry, I'd like to correct my question. 24 shows have been done, reported to Pura, 24 programs in 7 years out of that studio with the blue rug. Would that be correct? That's 24 shows over a 7-year period.
24 shows, not 24 episodes.
That's
Yes.
correct. Would you agree with that, based on your reporting?
Correct. Our reporting is accurate to the best of our understanding.
All right, that would be all.
Okay,
I have
Thank you.
one more. Having toured the facility yesterday, both area one, I'll talk to area one first. Would you say that these cameras are providing accurate, or meaningful access in these studios?
Well, you can speak to Norwalk.
I think the answer is yes.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I think the equipment setup is pretty good. It seems like it's very sophisticated from my take on it. But also the assistance that we have there to provide, I think it's great.
And what technical knowledge do you have, Ms. Greenleaf, Attorney Greenleaf? To be able to discern, tripods and cameras. can look-
You asked for their opinion as to whether or not it did, so they gave you their opinion. And I think we can draw our own conclusions as to the technical knowledge.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And I know Cox is up next, and I am going to because I know we have a full,
So I,
oh. All right.
Might I propose if
I'm open to proposals to make this work smoothly for everyone and in the most efficient manner as possible, so.
there's not a lot of time left, and since Pura since the staff's attorney has not had an opportunity yet to cross nutmeg, if they believe they could do it in the time remaining, it might make more sense to do that than to start Cox. But again,
I am happy to accommodate that. I think that I welcome that suggestion. OCC, I'm sure you're champing at the bit, but this might be a good way to use up what will be about 45 minutes, so. Things about,
Thank you. Appreciate the consideration. We're good on that.
are you sure? Okay. I know juggling these multiple pieces is challenging, so I will give Attorney Church time, and if Nutmeg could please be seated at the witness panel for our Pura attorney.
You don't have them in your ears, good.
All right, you Nutmeg panel ready for cross? All right, please proceed.
Um, I think there's been a little bit of confusion over the last 2 days about what's happening with the educational and government channels in the areas where they are individual to the municipalities. Having heard Optimum's testimony, do you have any concerns or changes to your proposal regarding the education and government channels?
According, and this has been read today at least, according to the Area 9 minutes, and I don't have it in front of me here, but there was a town that received some money for a Windows 7 server. There's also been within those minutes talks about video playback servers. And that's why I'm concerned about the questions that were responded to today, in that from those minutes and those servers, it appears to us that those individual towns are having their own Telview system and their own other type of playback servers that they are pushing to the Optimum head end in those areas. So it would be something that is not to our knowledge to know that Optimum is the one that is actually procuring the content for those individual towns and then having upwards of 10 to 20 individual ENG channels based out of their head end pushing playback servers to then push that content down to the individual channels.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I think my question was less on a technical aspect, but I appreciate the technical response, and more in terms of the maintenance of those continuing channels as they are. Should all responsibility be assigned to Nutmeg?
From what we can see, that is not how it operates at the moment, that the individual municipalities have their channels maintained by either volunteers or through the municipality, not Optimum.
Were the authority to assign responsibility in these areas that have municipal channels to Nutmeg, would Nutmeg be able to receive the feeds from these municipalities and bring those through to Comcast?
They would not go to Comcast.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I have
to
apologies.
Optimum.
There are
It's
too
okay.
many names in to Optimum.
From a technical standpoint, is there a way to do it? There is always a way to do something, absolutely.
I think what I'm trying to get at here is something that Optimum raised, which is that if there are feeds coming into Optimum that Optimum then has to do work on, but the responsibilities have now been assigned to Nutmeg, how is it that Nutmeg proposes the folks working at Optimum who have to do that work are funded?
And again, I'm gonna go back to a technical side that the interconnections between the playback servers in these individual towns and the head end are already made. So the pass-through is already going to the homes. Everything is already set up. So if we have a telephone between myself and Joni, that cable is there, the transmission is there. The telephones may change out. And in this instance, the playback servers may change out, but all you're doing is changing the box that's plugged into the same cable. So we don't see any need to make any modifications, even assuming the responsibility of that area.
Okay, so from your understanding, are you telling me that there isn't active work done? From your understanding, this is not testifying on behalf of Optimum, but from your understanding, it's that there isn't active work being done by an Optimum employee to ensure that these are showing? These ENG channels from the municipalities?
It is my understanding that the individual municipalities or their volunteers are the ones scheduling the content at a playback server. How Optimum chooses to observe those transfers would be up to Optimum. That's something I cannot answer. In our area, in Area 16, the feeds just go 24/7, 365. Comcast may check them to make sure that they're active, as I do each day. But I can't speak to Optimum's engineers.
I'm going to jump in here with a question, Attorney Church. So should the authority assign responsibility to Nutmeg, would Optimum be required to maintain that head-end access?
We would believe that if the existing lines are right there, then there's no need to change them.
But would Optimum be required to maintain the head-end access?
They would have to maintain access whether we do that or the local volunteers do that. So either way, whether the cable is coming out of the Farmington Data Center or the Darien Town Hall, the function of it going back out to the home viewers would not change either way.
So they would still be required to maintain that access even though they're no longer responsible for the community access program?
Because they are responsible for the feed going to the homeowner.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to just add to that. Optimum told us that they had town-specific channels for E&G. And we've learned from the town of Darien and those that have written in that they are scheduling programming themselves, not an Optimum employee. They themselves are scheduling that programming. Optimum is only acting as the head end for all those feeds that currently come in. So Optimum would continue to be a head end, as all cable providers, video service providers are not. Frontier is the other video service provider, but those head end, we are not the head end. We simply interconnect with them, and then their distribution paths happen. And so we were surprised to hear that Optimum would not want to continue that town-specific channel, those town-specific channels. The distribution's already there, and so we don't understand why they would want to remove that. Because Nutmeg TV certainly is a proponent of those towns remaining town-specific with their town channels, doing what they've been doing very, very well for a long time.
So in areas, as you say, if that is something that is maintained in those areas, what would you intend Nutmeg's relationship to those municipalities producing their own education and government channels to be?
Well, we're delighted to know that those towns are doing such a great job. Not all of them are active, but Darien is active, Norwalk is active, Greenwich is active. They're putting their town meetings on, they're engaging with the public, they're using that as well as the schools. We don't know to what level, because Optimum does not report that programming to PIRA on their annual report, though they're asked to do so. They say that they don't keep those logs. So we don't know, and we've asked Optimum in meetings, would you provide us with that data so we know just how many programs are out being produced? And I believe that might be a late file exhibit that was asked for earlier. So we don't really know, but we would applaud them to continue doing what they're doing. And we would not expect Farmington Town Council to appear down in Darien. We would want those towns to maintain the infrastructure that they currently have.
And I'll also add, we want to work with those residents as well in all areas to be able to enhance the viewership of those areas. And therefore, they would have a direct pipeline to Farmington to be able to have their content, meetings, et cetera, on our online platforms and on our mobile apps and et cetera. So this way, more subscribers to these services are able to receive that type of content, whether they're cable subscribers or internet subscribers.
Turning now to cap locations, following up on the VSP's questioning from Monday. I understand that Nutmeg is not interested in operating a cap in each of the areas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Hypothetically, if PURA's approval was contingent on opening 2 or 3 regional branches in existing to the current Farmington location, would Nutmeg still be interested in proceeding with assuming responsibility in all 4 of the dockets currently pending in front of the authority?
Would you ask that again, please?
Absolutely. Hypothetically, if PURA's approval was contingent upon Nutmeg opening 2 or 3 regional branches in addition to the Farmington location, would Nutmeg still want to proceed with all 4 of its petitions to assume responsibility?
Nutmeg TV's position is that we don't believe 2 or 3 locations are needed. And so we maintain that position. We believe that in that we want to enhance the usage from what we're seeing and what we exhibit in Farmington. We still feel strongly that consolidation of those areas until such time as that regional town, regional TV branch would be overrun with activity. At that time, we would certainly entertain a second branch.
And I appreciate that answer. However, what I'm asking about specifically is if an approval was contingent upon that, would you still want to maintain all 4 applications? Whether or not you believe they're necessary, if an approval was contingent upon that, would you still pursue all 4 petitions?
Can't answer that right now.
Is that something you think that you could answer in a late file exhibit after having some time to
I
think
do.
about it? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think we would have to confer on that.
I would appreciate a late file exhibit from Nutmeg then, answering the question posed, which was, if their approval was contingent on opening 2 or 3 regional branches in addition to the current existing Farmington location, would they still proceed with wanting to assume responsibility in all 4 dockets? And I believe that that would be LFE 26.
Attorney Church, may I just ask for clarification? When you say all 4 dockets, we're talking about 07 for Optimum, we're talking about 08 for Cox, we're talking about 09 for Charter, but Comcast has already entered into an agreement with Nutmeg TV through an MOU that's in front of Pura. So that work has been done. But that is dependent on a regional branch.
I am asking about all four of those dockets that you listed, because none of them have gone to final decisions yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can I ask one more clarification? In our proposed plan, we do have one data center feeding the channels instead of all individuals. These regional branches, as you say, are these the regional branch studios where it's just a studio location in these areas? Or would you perceive that Pura would require data centers to be built in each of these locations?
I'm afraid that that is a question beyond my technical knowledge to give you an answer to, as I'm not sure when you switch from a need to, from a studio to a data center. So just studios, I think for now.
That's great.
Thank you. Again, hypothetically, if Pura was willing to allow Nutmeg to assume control over only one area or 2 areas, can you please place in order of priority or of ease for Nutmeg, which those areas would be?
I'm going out on a limb here, Attorney Church. But I do believe that the reason that we began this to be 2 years ago, Nutmeg TV has spent considerable time researching all of this. And Area 1 was what we considered to be the most underutilized of all of them. And so I would say that we would still seek to bring meaningful public access to Area 1. And we've already said that Cox seems to be doing what we consider more, though I do understand that they are merging with Charter. So what that's going to mean for their PEG studios is yet to be determined. So I guess that I could answer your question that Area 1 would be one that we are very much interested in.
I think you may have actually answered my follow-up question as well, which was to ask you the priority based on community need rather than on Nutmeg's ease. So I think you've told me that the community need you see is most in Area 1. Would that be correct?
That would be correct.
And does the ease to assume control have any effect on that is it easier for Nutmeg to assume control in one area or another?
No,
Thank you.
it is not.
I'd like to discuss the idea of cost savings next, because there's been some back and forth testimony about the idea of cost savings in Nutmeg's petition. When Nutmeg is discussing cost savings in your petition, is Nutmeg stating that it will receive and spend less money overall than a cap run by one of the VSPs?
If I may, on the data center side, a data center requires playback servers, internet access as a utility, firewalls, switches, et cetera, et cetera. Those costs alone, just in equipment, can reach upwards of $100,000, not including service contracts, licenses, subscriptions, so on and so forth for each of these appliances, as well as the maintenance and everything else on it. HVAC in particular is very important to these data centers as well, and that could be incredibly expensive. By consolidating the data centers in one point in Farmington that is already built out, we save in each of these individual branch studios all of that overhead money and equipment costs. So immediately, there's a hundreds of thousands of dollars savings to the communities by consolidating the technology based on what tech has done over the last 2 decades. So in that instance, and I don't know about the, if you want to talk about the managerial side.
I definitely understand what you're saying and appreciate that comment. I think what I'm getting at is, given what you just talked about, would you then be requesting a reduction in subscriber fees? Associated with the reduction that you're doing in cost?
And that's a question that we've heard a number of times during the proceedings. The answer to that is no. And the areas all have different subscriber rates, and those go back to their original franchise when they were set up. And those are set by PERA and continue to be. Due to the fact that the subscriber base has diminished in such a way that so much funding has been lost, we would like to take the monies, if these were approved, and provide meaningful community access in those areas, let people know what is available to them, what they're paying for. But in order to sustain community access until such time as there's a legislative change in how PEG is funded, we would not entertain a subscriber fee reduction.
So when you're talking about cost savings, would I be correct in understanding that you're not actually talking about a reduction in the amount of fees collected, but that you are talking about creating efficiencies, avoiding duplication, and producing more for the same amount?
When you say same amount
I.e. the same amount that is collected from,
currently,
yes, the same amount incoming from the cap fees.
correct?
There was some discussion on Monday about growing in new areas and how you grew Nutmeg to what it currently is in your area. Can you explain using some concrete examples and figures how you grew Nutmeg and over what time period? And if that's too complicated an answer for today, I would be happy to accept that as an LFE.
All right.
Yeah, I think we could do a Layfeld's exhibit on that.
Absolutely. So I believe that would be LFA number 27, which is an explanation using concrete examples and figures of how nutmeg was grown and over what time period. I believe I understood the testimony on Monday, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that the plan, if approved, would be to immediately go to one studio in Farmington and no additional studios immediately. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then the second studio that had been discussed, that would come at a later date. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've said within an 8-month period of time.
And is that something that is fully intended on opening or only if you see community need for it?
Oh, no. That,
fully.
that would
continued.
be right. And I'd like to just say that the regional branch is going to be a full studio. You know, you think of a bank has a main office where maybe you can go for your mortgage or some other loans, where the bank branch, you still can conduct your banking business. It may not have all those other components. And so that's how we use this example. But yes, absolutely, there will be that. And until that time, Chris has expressed and will again, that folks can immediately, we can take in their programming right away so they can be on the channels.
Okay, thank you. It was mainly that I was unclear whether or not the second location was a firm second location or
It is
a
firm.
potential.
It
Thank
is.
you.
And this studio, for a regional branch perspective, as you've seen the photos of Nutmeg's Farmington studio, will be of a quality that is far greater than some of the photos we've also seen today from Optimum. So we will make sure that each of these areas will have the robustness that the Area 16 viewers get
And the
and users
Comcast
get.
MOU is dependent on that regional TV branch.
I have a question on the MOU that I'll get to in a few minutes. I believe there was some remaining confusion over this point yesterday, so I just wanted to clarify for the record. It's my understanding from reviewing everything that we have in the docket that the 990 tax return from 2025 has not yet been filed by Nutmeg's contracted accounting form and is under extension approval by the IRS for filing. I believe that was in Nutmeg interrogatory response OCC 17. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So am I correct in saying then that there is not a copy in the record because it has not yet been finalized?
That is correct.
And do you know the basis for the extension?
We typically, our accountant typically has us under an extension every year. We always meet the filing deadline, and so all of the 990s have been filed in this record for past years. But usually by October, I believe the deadline is November, that has to be filed. But the last couple of years, that's where we've been coming up to be filed. And then when those 990s are completed, they're always filed to PIRA when they come in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Following up on OCC 9 regarding individuals who contributed to content to be aired monthly, approximately how many non-duplicative users come into your studio to create content?
As we've stated, and this is OCC 9, correct?
Yes.
As we've stated, it's difficult for us to check the individual users base on that. And the reason why is we're not like a Dunkin' Donuts. When you go into a Dunkin' Donuts, you get an order number that you're number 250 for the morning. And then the next day you may be order 550. In here, the way we devise these numbers is each program that is created requires usually a host, usually a guest, and usually a technical person or volunteer to do the show. So we take the number of shows that we do and we divide that by 3. There are some shows that only have 2. There are some shows that have 7. We decided to take the median of the average of that as 3, and that's how we were able to come up with these numbers.
Thank you. Do some of your users create content on site weekly?
They run on a biweekly schedule, so it'd be every other week. Their appointments are booked out in 12 weeks in advance.
And there are some who regularly come in every other week to produce an episode?
Yeah, we have some producers who will do it for only the 3-month rotation, take a summer off and then come back in the fall. We have other producers who do it every season of the year, so we see them very frequently.
Are the majority of the folks who use Nutmeg facilities in-house producing content, or are they using outside equipment that the facility supplies?
We have residents who use the studio facilities, as we've seen in these numbers here. They use the facility. They also loan out equipment to be able to take that equipment outside of Nutmeg's facility to do their shows, usually over a weekend, and then come back to edit them as well. And those are on a continually basis there. So it's a mixture of both.
So some of the folks who take out equipment may also then use the studio for editing.
Yes, correct.
Can you just give me an idea of the last time you had a new user come into the Nutmeg facilities to start a program?
It would have been this past season. We have 2 new shows come in just in the last season. One is a cooking show and one is a lifestyle show.
Following up on some questions yesterday related to the use of outside professionals. And for the purpose of this question, please know that I'm asking about paid or pro bono volunteer. I understand that Nutmeg hired an attorney for its real estate deal and uses a CPA for filing taxes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Does Nutmeg have a specific criteria that they use to determine when a situation requires the use of an outside professional?
Yes, also outside professionals can be IT professionals.
Absolutely.
And so if a situation occurs with an IT problem that we cannot handle in-house, then we can call in an IT professional. But pretty much we know, I mean, our accountant does our 990s and they do the audit, which is required. We have an outside bookkeeper that we hire. And that's pretty much it.
So would I be correct in saying there's no designated set criteria? It's something that you look at on a case-by-case basis?
Yes, that is fair to say.
The only, from an IT perspective, we do have IT management company who monitors the network. We are a television station, so cybersecurity is a top priority for us. So we make sure that that is monitored 24/7.
I'd like to talk for a little bit about the quality of programming, which is one of the elements of the applicable statute. Given that the CAPs have no role in editorial control, what metric does Nutmeg use when it's evaluating quality of programming?
A lot of it is technical as well. We want to make sure that our studio cameras are 4K capable. Those 4K cameras only cost $4,900 for those cameras. They're broadcast in HD because you can't really broadcast in 4K yet. And then that's on the technical side. However, we train each and every individual show host and producer to learn how to conduct themselves on camera as well. As an example, we'll have a producer who may have a guest who just complies with one-word answers. And we try to train them how to stretch that out. And that's how we handle the technical quality.
We also have technical guidelines, and they were filed in this docket, where Chris has identified specifics that folks have to adhere to when they're producing a program. We recently had a program done with Bristol Hospital, Bristol Health, which won a Telly Award. We were just notified of that this week, so we're delighted. And we're also delighted, you know, when we talk about the rental of the studio in order to fundraise, how wonderful that professionals who want to rent the space for professional reasons is the same studio that the public gets to use. And so it's very important to us that viewer engagement, let's face it, not everyone is coming in to use the studio, but they're watching. And so we also help our municipalities. Chris has worked extensively with the city of Bristol, who had robotic cameras where every time someone sneezed, the camera went over to that person. And the mayor felt that the cameras should be placed in a certain way. She wants the meetings to look a certain way. And so we go out and help with that.
Yeah, and at the same time, the mayor's mission was also to resume the live feeds of their meetings on Nutmeg TV government channel. And there's a new modern way of doing that other than the legacy fiber that unfortunately was lost during a renovation. There are now new modern ways where we can pre-schedule those live town meetings to be able to be sent out. So we're working with the city on that now.
As an LFE, I'm going to ask if you could please provide to the authority a 1 or 2 minute clip from 2 separate videos that really show that what you consider a range of the quality of the programming that gets produced either at Nutmeg or to air on Nutmeg. In other words, I'd like to see one that you would consider sort of the highest of the high end and one on the lower end. And this is not regarding the content therein, but simply regarding quality as Nutmeg defines quality. Does that make sense?
Can you clarify the low end again one more time?
Sure. Given, as I stated earlier, given there's no editorial control in the CAP's responsibilities, I'm trying to understand how Nutmeg defines quality. So if you could provide a 1 to 2 minute video of something you consider of the highest quality that's shown on Nutmeg and something that sort of shows the other end. And again, this isn't content, it's how Nutmeg is defining quality. Does that help?
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you. So that would be LFE 28 for the video clips, which demonstrate how Nutmeg defines quality. And I am asking for them to be short simply because I know our old system, I imagine, cannot handle much more than that.
Would a private online link be okay with you?
I would ask you to refer to the executive secretary with how that works from the filing end.
My concern is if we had to dumb the video down to get under the 20 megabytes for filing in the Pura Docket system, we will not be able to produce the quality that is required for this late filed exhibit.
I understand that, yes. I would just ask you to refer to the executive secretary to see if there's a way that you can work with them.
So-
And given that these 4 dockets do have an interconnected nature, although we've been mainly addressing 3 of them today, can you please explain how in the 4th docket, 250910, how the document, how the MOU with Comcast will work? A broad overview, if you will.
We did sign a non-disclosure. The MOU has been filed, so I'm assuming that, yeah. I can say that Comcast we've been partners with Comcast for over 30 years, 35 years. And we've maintained a good relationship with them. And so that made things a little bit easier. You know, they know us, they work with us on a regular basis. And their words were, we're going to set you up for success. And our words back to them you're not closing studios, you're just transitioning to a nonprofit. So Comcast customers are still going to receive the same thing that they're receiving now, just through a nonprofit. So it's a partnership, and that creates a win-win for the company. Comcast is not in the business of, and I can hear Attorney Bogan saying, don't speak for Comcast, but, and I can't, but the cable companies aren't in the business necessarily of doing PEG, but Comcast did a very good job with their PEG. And so they are not transitioning PEG to Nutmeg TV because of any negligence. They are transitioning because they realize that it's a smarter way to do PEG access. And so the MOU that's been filed is dependent on that regional branch that you referenced earlier. and within the same 8-month period of time. And they will be working with us to communicate with the communities as a handoff, not as a closure. And so it was a very good relationship that we had, and we're very pleased with the MOU, and Comcast did a great job.
Thank you. Are any studios currently run by Comcast envisioned to be closed as a result of the MOU?
Yes, Area 23 in Seymour and Area 22 in Danbury. Comcast, Area 21 is currently run by another organization, but has been found during this docketed process that it hasn't been performing at all for a long, long time. And so that's in front of Pura now through Comcast's petition as to what needs to happen with Area 21, which is Sharon, Salisbury.
One moment, just to see if there are any additional questions from me. I think I have no additional questions. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Beecher, do you have any questions for the panel? No? Thank you, Attorney Church. Well, I think it's, again, as I said, so we don't all got locked in here. We will recess for today. The intention of the authority would be to resume this hearing next Wednesday, June 17th at 10 a.m. in Hearing Room 1. We will issue further updates to the schedule as needed, but I think the initial plan would be, should a late filed hearing be necessary, to conduct that on Tuesday, June 29th. And obviously, we will, any adjustments that are made to further parts of the schedule, parties will be notified. We will post those amendments to the schedule. And with that, I want to thank you all for your attention and look forward, enjoy the rest of your week. And we will reconvene next Wednesday at 10 a.m., June 17th in Hearing Room 1. Is that correct? All right. We stand in recess.